Welcome to McMahon Stadium, Scott, where they have a really neat tradition. They name an honorary captain before the start of each game, and this time it's Matt Finley's turn. 9 years with the Stampeders, been retired since '95. Give me some thoughts on this game today.
Oh, I think Calgary, it's really important, obviously, for them today to get a victory. They're in a little bit of a slump. They lost two games by a couple of points, and they did look okay here 3 games back, and now they've slipped back a bit. So they're in a tough position. They've got to make a run for the playoffs. They've got to win now, and they got to start, like I said, right now.
Matt, let's make you an honorary coach today. You mentioned the fact that they're in a bit of a slump, a bit of a slide. What do you see as their problem, and how'd they get out of that slump?
I think it's really experience, and I really don't see a bad team out here. The Stampeders, they've got the makings of a good team. They're just a little bit young at some key positions. Obviously, the quarterback, they haven't been able to stay healthy and get enough experience to get the job done at the end of the game. So, like I said, the D-line, these guys are talented people. They have to get at it to take a little pressure off the offense and let them score a few points.
And they still got a key veteran as a middle linebacker in AJ.
Absolutely. I played with AJ my whole career, and he's still going strong, one of the premier guys in the league. He's absolutely amazing, leader of the defense, and is certainly going to get the job done.
Matt, you've been retired since '95. What are you doing with yourself? I know you're living here in Calgary.
I've been living here in Calgary now for 14 years, and I'm a stockbroker here in town, and a very tough position to be in right now. I think I'd rather be out in the field.
Do you miss football?
Well, you know, I played 10 years, and I had more fun than I could ask, and it's a kid's game, and your body usually doesn't keep up with your mind in this game. So I had my fun, played my years, and moved on. So I enjoy watching it and being a critic up in the stands.
Matt, thanks for doing this.
Thank you, Steve.
Well, things starting to fill up at McMahon Stadium in Calgary as we get set for the Hamilton Tiger Cats and the Calgary Stampeders. A 13-7 victory by the Saskatchewan Roughriders over the Montreal Alouettes. The Owls have now lost 3 straight, and that makes things a little bit different in the East in the CFL. Take a look at the standings here. Winnipeg is in first place. They have 24 points. Montreal now drops back to 18. Hamilton is all of a sudden in the picture for second place in the CFL, just 4 back of Montreal. And, of course, Toronto with the victory over BC on Saturday. Well, they still have a chance in terms of the crossover for the playoffs. There's the West. Nobody's over 500. Edmonton, BC, and then Calgary. Calgary now just 3 ahead of the Saskatchewan Roughriders. And, of course, those two will match up at the end of this week on Sunday. Here are the remaining games for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They try to get back in the playoff picture. First, it's Calgary. That's on Sunday. And then a week later, they have the Hamilton Tiger Cats, the Edmonton Eskimos, and then they'll wind up their season at BC against the defending Grey Cup champion BC Lions. Once again, a huge victory here for the Roughriders. 13-7 over the Montreal Alouettes, and that makes the game big, very big, as we said, between Hamilton and Calgary. And with another look at that, here are Chris Cuthbert and Glenn Suter. Guys.
Thank you, Scott. As Rod Lancaster said yesterday, when the leaves start to fall, the games seem to get even more important. And Darren Flutie was a deciding factor 2 weeks ago when Hamilton beat Calgary in overtime. And Glenn, we were a little surprised because that game Archie Amerson had just fumbled. We speculated maybe they'd go back to Amerson or to Mike Moriali, who was having a terrific game. Why did we forget about Darren Flutie?
Pretty safe bet to go to Darren Flutie. Darren Flutie is always going to be the go-to guy. It has been the best combination in CFL football, bar none. Danny McManus to Darren Flutie, and has been a nightmare for defensive backs. He's poised for his 9th 1,000-yard season, 120 yards away from that. That would tie Alan Pitts for a CFL record, and, of course, 94 yards away from passing Ray Elgard in the yardage department. Unbelievable career for Darren.
McManus and Flutie may be the best 1-2 punch ever in the Canadian Football League. Let's talk about the Calgary Stampeders without Travis Moore today in their lineup, but Mark Boerichter could get more action.
Mark Boerichter will take Travis Moore's position, and he's going to have to step up because now combined, the receiving corps for the Calgary Stampeders have just 8 8 years of experience. They're going to look to Mark Boerichter. He becomes the go-to guy. He's got 4 touchdowns in his last 2 games.
And Kelvin Anderson looking for a milestone too.
Yeah, he's poised to take another 1,000-yard season and move up that list again. Kelvin Anderson is on pace for his best year in the Canadian Football League, and he only knows 1,000-yard seasons.
Absolutely. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have won their last 4 of their last 5 games, while the Calgary Stampeders are trying to snap a 2-game losing streak here today. Getting set for the Stamps and Ticats right now. Back to Scott.
Guys, the Saskatchewan quarterback Keith Smith said we can limit the Owls to 7. The defense did the job, and the Riders win it 13-7 over Montreal. The CFL on CBC will continue in a moment. Darren Davis was the man today for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. 185 yards, 135 on the ground, 50 in the air as the Riders win this one 13-7 over the Montreal Alouettes. And let's not forget the contribution of Paul McCallum, the kicker for the Saskatchewan Roughriders. Paul had his longest of the season, a 46-yarder in this victory. So 13-7, the win for the Roughriders. That's our story here in Montreal. Right now, let's send you out to McMahon Stadium in Calgary.
The horse and the Stampeder fans are ready in Calgary. Since replacing the injured Marcus Crandall, Ben Sankey has been the starting quarterback for the Stampeders, and he'll call the plays today, and quite possibly his own number. One shy of 1,000 yards rushing, Calvin Anderson gives Calgary one of the more reliable running games in the CFL. He averages 5.5 yards per carry. He's thrown just over 400 passes this season, and Danny McManus will throw this afternoon. That's guaranteed. And one of his favorite targets will be the sure-handed Darren Flutie. It's an impressive and almost unstoppable Ticat combination. McMahon Stadium in Calgary, a graveyard for the Hamilton Tiger Cats in recent years. Hi everyone, I'm Steve Armitage, and before you start slicing that Thanksgiving Day turkey, sit back, relax, and enjoy the second half of our doubleheader, the CFL on CBC. We've got the Ticats and the Stampeders. The Stampeders have owned the Ticats here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. They've won 11 straight games, but it's the Stampeders who have struggled of late. They've lost 2 in a row, including a thrilling overtime game against the Ticats in Hamilton. The Ticats are coming off a big win over Montreal. This is a key game for both teams. The Stampeders still in the hunt for second place in first place in the West, and the Ticats still in the hunt for second place in the East. Now, with their thoughts on today's matchup, let's join the guys in the booth.
Absolutely, Steve. That win by Saskatchewan today means that Hamilton has a shot at hosting a playoff game, and a lot of Ticat fans didn't think that was possible a few weeks ago. Glenn, I think the Ticats are a team that could go all the way to the Grey Cup. The only question mark, a running game. They may have found it, though, in Troy Davis.
Well, they really like Troy Davis, and they have won 4 out of their last 5 games, but Troy Davis would like to change Ron Lancaster's mind and get that running game back part of the offense in Hamilton. He has the resume to back it up in the NCAA with back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. And on defense, Joe Mumford had a huge game 2 weeks ago. 2 sacks, 2 knockdowns. Calgary Stampeders have to find a way to block Joe Mumford.
Now is the glass half full or half empty for the Calgary Stampeders, who can, with a win today, move into first place in the West, but they can feel the heat from the Toronto Argonauts and maybe even Saskatchewan, who they have to play next week. They don't have Travis Moore today, but maybe Mark Boerichter could step up.
Well, Travis Moore is a huge loss, so Mark Boerichter has all the pressure now on his shoulders. He's been a bit of a forgotten man in the Calgary offense, but he will be looked to from Ben Sankey to be the go-to guy. And on defense, Alondra Johnson has read the riot act to the rest of this defense. The time for mistakes in Calgary are over. He will lead by example this afternoon.
All right, then. It's these two teams meeting for the second time in 3 weeks. Your keys.
Well, I think, first of all, when you look at this game, it's going to be interesting both ways. The Hamilton Tiger Cats have to hang on to the football. 3 drops per game. That adds up in a big way. And defensively, contain Calvin Anderson. Calgary has the #1 running game in the Canadian Football League. For the Calgary Stampeders, on offense, we just talked about it. Back to Bo Richter. With Travis Moore out, he becomes the go-to guy for Ben Sankey. And on defense, they've got to find a way to shut down Darren Flutie and make the rest of that receiving corps beat them.
They met in the Grey Cup in 98 and 99, and 2 of their last 3 games have gone to overtime. It's usually close. Steve?
Thank you, Chris. When you consider it is October the 8th, the weather for today's game here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary is absolutely perfect. 15 degrees Celsius. The wind could be a bit of a factor. It has been gusting of late. Coming up at halftime today, we'll feature the heart and soul of the Hamilton Ticat defense, Joe Montford, and we'll have the highlights from the Saskatchewan upset win over the Alouettes at McGill Stadium in Montreal. How about those Rough Riders? Guys, back to you in the booth.
All right, Steve, there's Ron Lancaster, who really likes the way this Ticat team is starting to gel. Good chemistry on the club, and now his team can move to within 2 points of Montreal for second in the East. And remember, the Ticats will still have a game in hand. And for Wally Buono, he says, I don't question my team's intensity or their effort, but Glenn, they've just got to stop making so many glaring mistakes.
Well, each player in that lineup has taken their turn making that key mistake in the game. That has cost them games. But, you know, both coaches, when you talk to them, you can see a quiet confidence. They're not talked about as favorites. They haven't been all year. And in some ways, I think they kind of like that. They feel they have the talent on both sides of the football on both these teams to make a big run here as the season winds down.
You see that breeze that will be in the faces of the Calgary Stampeders in the first quarter. Blowing the ball off the tee for Mark McLaughlin. And again, with the win today, the Stampeders will move into first place in the CFL West. McLaughlin kicks it away, and this will be Troy Davis from his 20-yard line. And Davis up to the 38 before he's drilled by Abbotsford, BC native Kelly Lochbaum, limiting the gain to 20 yards. Danny McManus leads the Ticats offense out. When asked about McManus yesterday, Ron Lancaster said he's having a good year. Nobody believes it.
Well, and now he's got Troy Davis behind him, and they want to see if Troy Davis can make a difference. I think last week he really opened the eyes of Ron Lancaster. They also have Archie Amerson back in the lineup. Of course, Darren Flutie, the go-to guy in the receiving corps.
And the offensive line anchored by Carl Coulter. It was interesting to note, although McManus has only been sacked 6 times this year, 3 times were by the Stampeders 2 weeks ago. Play action, first down. Troy Davis takes that dump pass over the middle and has an initial first down for the Ticats up near midfield. Otis Floyd, Anthony Pryor on the tackle.
Joe Fleming and James Cotton have been the 2 rush guys for the Calgary Stampeders. 12 sacks combined between the 2 of them, and a couple sacks, like you mentioned, against these Hamilton Tiger Cats. Alondra Johnson has read the riot act to the rest of the defense. Mistake time is over, and in the secondary, Greg Frères has got to pick up his game.
Former All-Canadian, they swing it to Davis, incomplete. So he has been the target on the first 2 passes from McManus, a 14-yard catch and an incompletion.
When you look at Troy Davis, and you wonder why he's not used a little bit more in this offense to provide balance for Danny McManus, and back-to-back years in the NCAA at over 2,000 yards, was twice a nominee for the Heisman Trophy, lost out to Eddie George 1 year and Danny Warfel the other. That's pretty elite company.
He'd just like to have as good a game as his older brother Darren did for Saskatchewan today. 2nd and 10 for McManus and company, and they call Troy Davis's number once again, and it falls incomplete.
You know, and in the Hamilton Tiger Cats offensive thought process, that is a running play to them. When you get Troy Davis in a little 3 or 4 yard pattern out to the outside, that's basically a glorified running play for Danny McManus.
So Oz comes on. He was a difference in the game 2 weeks ago. Mark Borichter is back, along with Antonio Warren, who had 199 return yards against the Tiger Cats. He won't get a chance this time, as that ball was kicked out of bounds and hit one of the officials down there.
It's very interesting that they put Mark Bohlrichter back to return punts, something that he hasn't done a whole lot in his 2 years here in Calgary.
34-yard punt. Ben Sankey gets set to go to work with Kelvin Anderson, another 1,000 yards in waiting.
Yeah, well, Kelvin Anderson is the key to the Calgary offense, and Kelvin Anderson poised for a 6,000-yard season. Mark Bohlrichter moves into Travis Moore's spot with him out of the lineup. The veteran offensive line, Jamie Crysdale in the middle. And 2 big tackles.
Team that fell behind 23-3 in Toronto last week. Sankey really pulled himself back together in the second half of that game. First down, Antonio Warren in the backfield, and he'll fall across the 25 for a gain of 3. Woodson and Joe Montford in on the stop, and we'll be calling his name today.
Well, 2 weeks ago versus the same team, 2 sacks, 2 knockdowns. Montford has 13 sacks on the season. And then the linebacking core, Chris Schelling, making a name for himself. A lot of people talking about he should be a nominee for Defensive Player of the Year. And there's the secondary, Gerald Vaughn, in his second game back with the Ticats.
Former Stampeder Vaughn, 2nd and 7 for Sankey. 5 receivers out to the left side. Sankey pulls it down, and Ben Sankey has a first down. He's been bothered with a hamstring injury for the past couple of weeks. When we watched a little film this morning, and he was really favoring the hamstring, but a little more mobile here.
Well, look at the job that Fred Childress has done to give him a lane to run through, and you're absolutely right. He looked like he had a little bit of burst as he runs through the arms of Joe Montford, which is basically impossible to do. And there, Ben Sankey got it done with the help from Fred Childress as he blocks Montford. That will be an interesting matchup all game long.
He was telling me yesterday, this is a tough team for him to play against with the veterans Childress and Ram at tackle. Sankey gets nailed. Gonzalo Floyd came in, another former Stampeder, as he gets his 2nd quarterback sack of the year, trying to regain that position on the opposite end from Montford.
A race between Gonzalo Floyd and Joe Montford, both with nice moves. One in the outside, one on the inside. Gonzalo Floyd made an inside move, got there. Joe Montford made an outside move and was standing right beside him.
Loss of 5. It'll be 2nd and 15. Tim Beauchamp played that defensive end position 2 weeks ago. Got hurt, and Floyd gets another chance. Here comes the rush again. Sankey flushed out, bouncing around, but that'll do it. They get to him once again, and this time Chris Schelling is in to finish off the Stampeder quarterback.
And this is why people are talking about him having such a great season. Chris Schelling comes off the edge from his linebacking core. You see number 30 right down at the bottom of your screen. He misses him on the first try, but watch the second effort. Gets hit in the hole by his own man, and you'll see number 30 show up one more time and finish off the play.
Okay, be careful.
Back-to-back sacks against Sankey. And so Duncan O'Mahony, who nearly had a couple blocked 2 weeks ago against Hamilton, is in, and they get this one. Gerald Vaughn with the tip at Joe Montford in the end zone, and he dropped the ball. O'Mahony got it back to save a touchdown, but it will be...
Yeah, it'll be Hamilton's football right there on the 1 yard line. It looked like O'Mahony came all the way back and took it out of the hands of Joe Montford. Huge block, though, by Gerald Vaughn.
Vaughn blocked 4 in 8 games last year. He gets to O'Mahony here. Joe Montford smiling because he let a touchdown get out of his hands.
Watch the little shift there by Gerald Vaughn as he shifts to the outside on Kent Ring. When he makes that shift, he gets himself a good angle on the punt, blocks it cleanly. Now, I thought Montford had the football, and then O'Mahony took it out of his hands. He never really had control. O'Mahony runs out of the end zone.
Vaughn blocked one here last year, and it resulted in a touchdown. Here's Troy Davis, and Davis in for the score. So the Ticats push it in after the block punt by former Stampeder Gerald Vaughn for an early lead.
And Chris, a mistake by a young punter in Duncan O'Mahony, who instead of taking that football into the end zone and giving up the safety in the 2 points, he has now got out to the 1 yard line and given up 6 points to Troy Davis.
Well, it was a potential problem 2 weeks ago, and the Ticats get a second shot at O'Mahony and make them pay as Davis gets an early score, and the Ticats draw first blood at McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Well, Duncan O'Mahony has had a rough start here, a punt blocked, and then, well, under duress, a wrong decision near the end zone.
Yeah, no question about it. Duncan O'Mahony should have turned around, picked up this football, and ran back into the end zone and given up the safety. Had he given up the safety, Calgary would have kicked the football off to Hamilton, but the field position obviously would have been much different. Get after it now!
Antonio Warren from his 14-yard line. And Warren does a nice job to get up to the 39 before he's met by Warren Musica. And one more look at the Hamilton touchdown by Troy Davis.
And it's obvious that Ron Lancaster Jr. is going to feature Troy Davis, not only down on the goal line, but in that first series Hamilton had the football. Troy Davis was a big part of that offense.
There's R.D. Lancaster upstairs, along with Dennis McPhee in the spotter's booth. For the Tiger Cats as Calgary goes to work. Here's Kelvin Anderson, right side as he runs over 1,000 yards for the 6th consecutive year.
Well, it really is amazing what Kelvin Anderson has done. He's on pace this year for 1,383 yards, which would be a personal best for him. And remember, Kelvin Anderson has missed a game and a half, and when he gets 100, the Calgary Stampeders win football games. You just saw he's got it 19 times. 14 of those have been Calgary victories.
Second in the league in rushing behind Mike Pringle, who was not in the lineup for Montreal today. Sankey goes down again. Aaron Williams and Gonzalo Floyd for the second time as they get to Sankey.
Well, Gonzalo Floyd, like you mentioned, has the fresh legs. He hasn't played all season long, and he's got a chance to go in there and make an impact. And boy, if he can get going like he has so far in this game, it'll provide one-on-ones on the opposite side for Joe Montford. You have bookends like that, Joe Montford and a hot Gonzalo Floyd, and watch out.
They got to Sankey 4 times 2 weeks ago. It's 3 times already. Archie Amerson dropped the football, but is able to pounce back on it at the 31.
Archie Amerson has to wear a flak jacket around his ribs. Alonda Johnson 2 weeks ago hit Amerson coming down the seam, and it knocked him out of a game. So Archie Amerson right now has that big jacket around his waist area. Now, how will that affect him handling the football is the question, and he bobbled that last one.
44-yard punt, no return. And Danny McManus with a 7-point cushion in the opening 6 minutes. We talked about some milestones today. Anderson has one, Flutie approaching another, and McManus needing 259 yards passing to become the all-time leading passer in Hamilton Ticat history. First down from the 32, and there's Darren Flutie lunging ahead for a first down up at the 48.
Nice conversation with Darren Flutie before the game, and he said, we need 120 out of you in this game this afternoon just to make the story a perfect one for the telecast. He said, hey, I'll do what I can. I've got a couple of young defensive backs in front of me, and Ricky Bell is very aggressive, but he is young.
He had one of those frustrating afternoons until the touchdown pass 2 weeks ago. He felt he was open most of the day, and it's one of those days when the ball wasn't getting there. Here's Davis trying to turn the corner. He is upended near the line of scrimmage.
Well, you know, the other thing about having Davis involved in the running game is not just the yardage he'll provide you on first down, but also the balance that he provides for that offensive line. Because if you're running the football occasionally, or 40% of the time if you can, it gives the offensive line a chance to tee off, to move down the field, to attack that defensive line. If they're always in pass rush protection type of blocking schemes, makes it awful tough for the offensive line. So that's what the running game can give you.
2nd and 9 for McManus. 6 receivers out. The quick hitter to Amerson, who sidestepped a hit from Greg Frères and gets it all the way down to the Calgary 40.
You know, when Wally Buono talks about 1 or 2 plays in games that really hurt his football team, this is one of them. And, you know, Greg Frères was kind of in between decisions. He had to decide whether or not he was going to try and run over Amerson, hit him right in the mouth, or break down and tackle him. And he was right in that in-between area. He made the wrong one, obviously.
20-yard pickup for Amerson. And I know many of the Ticat offensive players were excited yesterday, Glenn, about the prospects of both Amerson and Davis together in the Hamilton offense. McManus with time. Amerson again. Jarred by Kelly Malvo, but it's another Cat first down at the 23.
Danny McManus uses his eyes to freeze Kelly Malvo. He knows where Archie Amerson is going to end up, which is right in the middle of the field right there. So he doesn't have to look at him until he actually goes to throw the football. But by not looking at him initially, Kelly Malvo is frozen. Can't get there in time, but you're right. Archie Amerson gives him that threat that in one play, he can take it all the way to the house.
16 yards on the seam pattern to Amerson. First down. McManus looking the other way. What a catch! Darren Flutie.
Oh, yeah. Well, get 120 and throw in a couple of catches like that for us, Darren, and we'll have a nice afternoon. I mean, what a grab by Darren Flutie, but watch how easy he makes it look. That little nonchalant, I'll just reach up there, pull it in with one, no problem.
Darren, could you give us a highlight reel catch or two?
Oh, man.
Boy, the Calgary defenders are going to be shaking their heads. The way this is developing in the opening quarter. McManus, short drop, and this incomplete, intended for Corey Grant.
We had both Corey Grant and Darren Flutie doing the exact same patterns. Called mirror patterns, where one side is doing the exact same as the other side, and this time Danny McManus goes away from Flutie, who had inside position on the opposite side of the field. Not that ball's delivered perfectly. Ticats this year, they say, have dropped about 2 or 3 key passes per game. Over 13 games, that's about 30.
I bet Darren Flutie wasn't responsible for many.
No.
Second down, that ball tipped and falls incomplete. There is a flag down on the near sideline.
Were they drawn offside?
Offside. Calgary number 26. Repeat, second down.
So there's 2 plays that Wally Buono has been talking about all year long. First of all, a missed tackle in the open field by Greg Frères, and then a penalty that could turn a 3-point opportunity into a touchdown opportunity for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Small mistakes that make a big difference. As you can see, Ricky Bell trying to go off the edge on a blitz.
So it's 2nd and 5. They think that Davis, and McManus looks in the end zone for Andrew Grigg, and great coverage by William Fields as he knocks the ball away.
Well, it was tremendous coverage because he was in perfect position, but he didn't panic. He's a rookie playing in his first season. Early in the season, William Fields would panic with the football in the air and have a penalty or miss the ball. This time, he plays it patiently, turns his head back so he doesn't get any interference calls, and knocks that ball out of the air.
So Paul Osbaldiston, was 5 for 5, and look at that percentage on the season, 83.3%. Nails an easy one to increase the Ticat lead to 10.
That's a 9-iron for Ozzie.
So the Cats off to a terrific start, trying to end that slump at McMahon. It's the 50th season of the CFL on CBC, and next Saturday, this game gets even more important. The Alouettes in Toronto to meet the Argonauts, who posted that big win Saturday night over BC.
Well, back-to-back wins for the Argos. They've also beat Calgary, BC. They haven't beat a team in the East.
Little toss to Antonio Warren, who turns the corner, and all the way across midfield into Hamilton territory, finally dragged down by Saunders and Vaughn after a 21-yard scamper.
It's the bunch formation right here. You see the receivers for the Calgary Stampeders providing some blocking help for Antonio Warren to get to the outside. They bring those receivers in running downs to try and lengthen the corner for the defensive ends. You see 3 bunched receivers out there. They can't get involved. And Warren has the outside.
Talked about Amerson together with Davis. Don't often see Warren and Anderson in the backfield at the same time, but we are seeing that set here in the opening quarter, and Anderson down to the 49.
Talking about Anderson's numbers and 6 consecutive 1,000-yard season, ties Big George Reed, the Saskatchewan Roughrider fame, and Kelvin Anderson, had he been able to play that game and a half, would have been on pace for 1,500 yards. He still may get it. Sorry, Chris.
He could. 160 yards starting the day behind Earl Lunsford all time in the Calgary running list, and Anderson is running well. A first down to the 40.
The thing that's amazing to me about Kelvin Anderson, because he is a running back and they take a beating. I mean, whether you're having a good day or a bad, you're getting hit on every single play. Kelvin Anderson played with the XFL San Francisco Demons. He has played a lot of football to this point in the regular season of the Canadian Football League, and he is still going strong, showing no signs that he's tiring down at all.
Under 3 minutes to go, opening quarter. Calgary trying to cut into a 10-0 Hamilton lead, and Anderson stacked up at the line of scrimmage. Gonzalo Floyd was waiting.
I love the point you made earlier, Chris, about Ben Sankey, how he really learned a lot last week versus the Toronto Argonauts. Yes, it was a loss, but he had a ball taken away from him by Alfred Payton that went for a touchdown on a fumble recovery, threw a bad interception to Wayne Shaw that went for a touchdown, and bounced back and brought the Stampeders back to a point where they had a chance to win that game.
3 second-half touchdown passes for Sankey in that game. Second down here, no protection, drops the ball. Who got on it? Looks like Calgary retained possession, but Sankey's not getting any time in this opening quarter.
Yeah, that's where Kelvin Anderson becomes more important to the Calgary offense. Not just running the ball on first down to get him in second and medium, but also in situations like this to try and dump it off to Kelvin Anderson, run some more screen plays and a couple of drop plays on second and long, and that was Gerald Vaughn coming off the edge on a defensive halfback blitz. Ben Sankey.
Loss of 11, chased them right out of field goal range.
34-33.
And O'Mahony has to punt. Amerson from his 7. Bounced off the first wave, but smothered at the 10. 43-yard punt and a 3-yard return. Ticats with the lead and with the football as they start at their own 10. Danny McManus looking for Flutie, and a catch as he's nailed at the 32-yard line. Little breathing room for that Hamilton offense.
Well, it's a big play. Again, Greg Frères breaks in the football, but is a half step late to get over there on Darren Flutie. And Greg Frères had some injury problems early in the season, too, with a hamstring, and it may not be completely healed because he's been a little late on a couple of plays so far this afternoon. Darren Flutie paying the price to give his offense a little more room.
23 yards, the pickup, and a first down in the final minute of the opening quarter. A lot of steamboats for McManus, but no one open, and now he's chased back and caught inside the 20. Joe Fleming with the initial pressure, and James Cotton finished it off.
Nice call by the Calgary Stampeders defensively, because rather than leave Greg Frères the safety in the middle, they run him to the weak side, and it causes Danny McManus to hang on to the football and allows that defensive line to get there. You have to do things quite well to confuse Danny McManus, and that was a well-executed defense to have Greg Frères bail out to the weak side and show something that they haven't shown all season long.
A loss of 14. Second and 24. And the screen is dropped, intended for Amerson. That's the final play of the opening quarter. Big plays by the Calgary defense after Hamilton had jumped out to a 10-0 lead. Block punt led to the only touchdown of the first quarter, and a 10-0 Hamilton lead. And look at the yards passing for McManus.
Yeah, and look at
in turn.
Yeah, the Calgary Stampeders. How much do they miss Travis Moore in the lineup? Calgary with not 1 yard passing in the first quarter. I don't remember that happening all year.
I don't remember it happening in a decade.
Yeah.
Antonio Warren
27.
dropping back, awaiting the punt to Osbaldiston. And it's a good one. Driving Warren back inside his 40. And Jason Lamar meets him after a 12-yard return as we join Steve.
Thank you very much, Chris. I'm with Travis Moore. And Travis, you've got a big brace, a big cast on your left foot, protecting that fractured little toe. It's a little toe that's broken, but it's a big pain, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big pain right now, and we thought it'd be best to let it wait out this game and try to let it heal, because right now it's pretty tender. So we decided to sit this one out.
How long do you think it'll be before you come back?
I don't know. We're gonna take it week to week right now, and hopefully I can be back as soon as possible.
Good luck, Travis. Thanks for doing this.
Appreciate it.
That's 1,300 yards of offense out of the Calgary attack as Sankey airs it out, and Kamal Peterson unable to reel it in. Tight coverage from Brandon Hamilton.
Kamal Peterson is in the lineup, in the starting lineup, because Travis Moore is out. And you know, not to take anything away from Peterson, who's young, playing in his first season, but those are the plays that Travis Moore has made all season long, and that's why they obviously miss him in the lineup. Ball's in the air, and you just hope your guy makes the play for you. You know, and that toe injury for Travis Moore, had this been a playoff game or a Grey Cup, there's things you can do with the toe to get in the football game, but I think it's a wise move to rest him at this point in the season.
Stampeders also operating without Vince Danielson. Trouble on that shotgun snap, but Sankey recovers and throws a strike. Aubrey Cummings, the Hamilton native, product of St. Mary's High School in Hamilton, with a first down catch.
And that's the composure of Ben Sankey. That's what he learned a week ago against Toronto. Play didn't basically work, or wasn't executed exactly the way they drew it up on the chalkboard, but no reason to panic. Pick up the football, look down the field, and find Aubrey Cummings.
And it's the first completion for Sankey on the afternoon. Gets it down to the Hamilton 42. Here's Anderson off the left side, big hole, and he cuts it back inside the 30 to the 27. 15 yards for Kelvin Anderson.
Kelvin Anderson usually runs away from the side of that bunch with the receivers. Usually they have the receivers bunched up to one side. It's over here this time, and they run away from it. It's working so far this afternoon for Calgary. The downside of that formation is it doesn't allow your receivers to get out in patterns if you elect to throw the football.
Stampeders, the leading rushing team in the CFL. It's first down. There's a completion. Big Mark Boerichter, touchdown. The 10th touchdown of the year for Boerichter, who had two weeks ago against the Ticats.
Well, he has found the end zone this year, even though he's been a bit of a forgotten man in the offense. When he does catch the ball, he finds the end zone. This is his 5th touchdown in the last 2 games. And what are we in now? Almost 2.5 games.
A guy that they weren't finding earlier in the year. They're they're getting the ball to now. McLaughlin adds the extra point. And after a slow start, the Stamps answer back, and it's a 3-point game. No passing yards for Calgary in the first quarter, but they changed that early in the second quarter.
Little play action. If Calvin Anderson hasn't had the success he's had early in this game, that play action doesn't work. Go a little play action to Calvin Anderson and over the middle to Bo Richter. And he has tremendous acceleration after he catches the football, takes it into the end zone.
60-yard drive, a couple of completions by Sankey, and it's a 3-point game. Troy Davis from his 15. And Davis to the 34. 19 yards on the return. George Cortez conferring with Bo Richter. Let's take a look at the drive.
Now this is the play that Ben Sankey picks up the football, finds Aubrey Cummings. Great composure from the quarterback to keep the sticks moving. They get Calvin Anderson involved. Now because he has success on this play action fake to Anderson works well. They go over the middle to Bo Richter and he finishes off the drive. Balance in your attack.
So 6 touchdowns in the last 4 games, 9 in the last 9, and Bo Richter's on a roll after a slow start. Here's McManus, Davis up the middle, Alondra Johnson hanging on. The Ticats averaging 7 yards on first down so far in this game.
Well, and they are running the ball, so Ron Lancaster said 3-4 weeks ago he wasn't going to run it, that he was abandoning the run. It'd be tough to run against Alondra Johnson, I guarantee you that. But it looks like he's gone back to it. And when Davis got the ball a week ago, he did a thing or two with it.
Ticats last rushing at 90 yards a game. Davis in 2nd and 2. Initially didn't look like he had it. Tough man to finish off, and it'll depend on the spot of the ball.
Well, he'd at least be close enough where Ron Lancaster may be in that gambling situation now. The question will be, if he is in that situation, would he do it?
Well, again, last week against Montreal, he gambled 3rd and 1 in the final minute at his own 51 and was stopped. It suggested to me yesterday he would not gamble under those circumstances or in any circumstance in this game.
You know, well, last week, no, he doesn't have to in this case. He may have to before this game is over, though. But, you know, last week versus Montreal, I know the rest of the country were second-guessing the decision to gamble.
All right, let's have another round of applause
in that situation. Hamilton gambled a couple of times in the game. This is the gamble we're talking about. That gave Montreal a chance for the winning field goal. Now that field goal was blocked.
Here's McManus on first down, missing Emerson with the pass.
That field goal was blocked and they hung on to win, but all week long Ron Lancaster was second-guessed about the decision to gamble there and not punt the football. I liked it. I know the rest of the country did not. I liked it because it was an aggressive move to try and win the game and control the game. And you've got to believe offensively you can get 1 yard. Well, after last week, like he mentioned to you yesterday, Chris, it's not a guarantee, and he's not sure if he will gamble if he's in that same situation now.
Says they have to prove to me they can do it, but it's the old quarterback mentality. I hate giving up the football.
Exactly.
There's another Darren Flute, or check that, Andrew Gregg with the catch, and he turns it upfield. That's his first catch of the game.
Well, you know, good for Andrew Gregg the way he's played this season. He got a bit of a slow start again, but now he's on pace for 1,100 yards, and he really has become balanced in that offensive attack with Darren Flutie on one side, often playing opposite Andrew Gregg. Andrew Gregg's been so close to 1,000 yards over his 7 years and never made it. This year, if he stays healthy the rest of the way, he should.
He is the top Canadian receiver in the CFL right now. First down for the Tiger Cats. McManus with time. Put it up and nearly picked off. Rick Ferrers and Moriali went up for the ball, and William Fields had a shot at it.
That may be the only time a quarterback in the history of the game is happy that he overthrew a football. because that one is up and over the head of Mike Morreale, and if it's not, Greg Frères is headed the other way. He got a great block on that ball. William Fields had a chance at the tip. But what a great jump by Greg Frères, who seems to be making a bit of a comeback here this afternoon.
All-Canadian last year had a slight concussion 2 weeks ago and did not finish the game at Ivor Wynne. 2nd and 10. McManus, quick hitter behind Morreale with a flag down.
Flag down. Mike Morreale.
I don't know about that one. That was Joe Barnes in the coverage. Calgary's playing what they like to call two-man, and basically to explain it, it's two people that are deep. Greg Frères is one, and the man-to-man underneath.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Calgary number 37. First down.
The coverage allows Joe Barnes to step up in there. Now, they called 37. Joe Barnes was the guy in coverage on Mike Morreale. So unless Anthony Breyer did something away from the back, they just got the numbers wrong.
9 minutes to go, first half. And a first down for the Cats at the Calgary 41. Pitch pass, Morreale. Upended at the 35. William Fields there with the stop. That game a couple of weeks ago, Mike Morreale fumbled a ball. The play was negated by a penalty, but he stood on the sidelines for a few series and then came back and had his best game of the year.
Yeah, he really did, and it was a game that he needed, because Mike Morreale had been struggling up to that point. He comes into this game with just 368 yards and 2 touchdowns, way below Mike Morreale's standards. And this receiving core, aside from Darren Flutie, have had the dropsies all season, no question.
8th play of the drive. 2nd down. Davis through the hole and all the way down to the end zone. Touchdown. Troy Davis, 34 yards.
Think Ron Lancaster's convinced? That may convince him.
They may have a running game in Hamilton.
Well, and you need it, especially when it starts to get cold later in the year. The running game becomes important when you can't throw the football because of weather conditions. Watch the acceleration in the hole. Blows right by Otis Floyd, cuts off the angle, little stiff arm on Greg Frères to get the last 2 and cross that goal line.
Came into the game as Hamilton's leading rusher, but only 25th in the league. He's moving up the charts in a hurry. The Ticats restore a 10-point lead. Just under 8 minutes to go. First half at McMahon. Welcome back to McMahon Stadium. A 34-yard touchdown romp by Troy Davis has restored a 10-point Hamilton lead.
You gotta run now.
And suddenly the Tiger Cats have a running game once more. 135 yards rushing in the opening half. Antonio Warren to the 33. Let's see if the Calgary Stampeders can build on their scoring drive.
Well, the thing with Calgary after that 34-yard run by Davis to give the Ticats a 10-point lead. I mean, now Calgary doesn't have to panic at this point. Pretty good blocks right at the point of attack. You can see the hole in the lane opened up for Troy Davis, and then he outruns Otis Floyd. Runs right by that tackle, stiff arms Greg Frères, and is in the end zone. But Calgary, there's still plenty of football to be played. They don't have to panic at any point here. They just have to keep the ball to Kelvin Anderson and Mark Bowrick.
Play action. Sankey to Anderson out of the backfield. Snipped out by Chris Schelling in a hurry.
Chris Schelling has always been a pretty good coverage type of linebacker. In other words, when he's been asked to cover receivers or running backs out of the backfield, that's been his forte because he came in as a defensive back, a halfback. And this year, he's picked up his game physically. He can come up and make hits like that and make plays on the run. 60 tackles on the season and 7 sacks.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Here they come. Sankey in trouble and down again.
And Ben Sankey is sacked.
Gonzo Floyd gets to the quarterback, and that's his third sack of the game.
Chris, look at the time that he has initially. Ben Sankey's in there for a bunch of steamboats. He steps up in the pocket. He still has a couple of passing lanes. Inexperience in the receiving core is starting to come to the fore now. 8 years of experience combined with Travis Moore out of the lineup makes a big difference. Ben Sankey had time to throw. He had no one to throw to.
Ticats lead the league in quarterback sacks. And Floyd with his third of the game, fourth of the year. Corey Grant fields the punt and is down to the 36 as Sankey and Cortez talk on the sidelines.
Okay.
6:37 to play, second quarter. Ticats continuing to lead 17-7. I'd like you to meet the new owner of the Calgary Stampeders, Mr. Michael Federick. And Michael, your team's in a bit of a hole. I got to ask you the question, why a successful California businessman wants to buy the Calgary Stampeders?
Well, a dream come true. I'm a sports guy. I've been a sports guy all my life. And I was looking at a couple arena leagues teams, and this Calgary franchise, and the whole league's 60 years old. It's an incredible franchise. The community is incredible, and I really enjoyed here.
Your son is on the roster. How active an owner are you going to be?
Well, I didn't come here to work in the accounting department. I came here to assist in the whole scheme of things. So I'll get involved with Wally and the football team.
What about your son? Is he going to play for this team someday?
Well, I hope so. If he doesn't play here, we'll trade him and he'll play somewhere.
Thank you very much for doing this. Appreciate it, Michael.
Thank you.
Owner trades son.
Owner trades his son. That will be interesting.
Well, what was interesting is the day that Mr. Federick takes over, his son was moved off the roster.
That's right.
He is now the number 4 quarterback with the return of Marcus Crandall. Here's McManus going up top, and Corey Grant stretched out and had it go off his fingertips.
Yeah, and I think if you read between the lines there with Michael Federick, his son Kevin Federick will play in this league if he earns the right to play in the league. And that will be the bottom line. And sounds like this is an owner, though, that loves the game of football and will be involved hands-on with the Calgary franchise.
Heard him talking with Steve just before we went on the air. He knows this is a big game with Toronto just 1 point back of Calgary now in the crossover race. And of course, on the other side, Calgary can move into first place.
But it was interesting, too, that he named Wally Buono. I'll work with Wally Buono next year, no problem.
Been a little talk about Wally's future. 30-yard punt.
It's hard to think about Wally Buono as a coach anywhere else, though. I mean, and I know he has roots over in the East, and Ottawa's will very, very likely. That may be announced this week. They'll be back in the league.
And Glenn, while we didn't talk to him about next year per se, he was already talking about everything being in place for the Stampeders for next training camp, as if he had full intentions of being here. Here's a pitch out to Anderson, left side, turn the corner, and a first down for Kelvin Anderson. And a run up to the 50-yard line. Troy Saunders with the stop as George Cortez, the offensive coordinator, sends in the plays.
Well, the difference between the start of this series and the start of the last one when they were 2 and out is that they went to number 32 on first down, and it is so important for Calgary to establish the run. In their 5 wins, they average 190 a game. 8 losses, it drops by almost 80 yards.
This time, the fake to Anderson. Sankey gets rid of the ball and has a completion. Tunkara shook one tackle and steps out at the Hamilton 47.
I mean, that is so significant when you think about that average. In the 5 wins, they're close to 200 yards rushing as a team. And in the losses, it drops to just over 100. Now, when you add that up, that's the length of the football field in a game. That's a big difference, and it opens up your receivers if your running back is hot. And that's why Ibtun Kara opens up on that play.
One of the promising youngsters in the Calgary receiving corps. We talked about Peterson and Tunkara. They just seem to need some time. Back to Anderson inside.
And off to number 32, Calvin Anderson.
And Kelvin close to 4 more.
You know what else his running game will do to the Hamilton Tiger Cats? We've seen Gonzalo Floyd, 3 sacks already in this game. They have the best sacker in the game in Joe Montford, and it turns Joe Montford and Gonzalo Floyd into tacklers. Rather than pass rushers, now they have to become tacklers. Now they can do it, but their forte is getting after quarterbacks, especially in the case of Joe Montford.
And Ben Sankey told me yesterday, we can't let Joe Montford dictate the game. Second down. They dump it off. Anderson with a flag down to the 35. And it would be a first down, but we'll have to sort out the penalty. Schelling and Lamar on the tackle.
On that last play, they 2 offensive linemen blocking Joe Montford. They had Big Fred Childress and Jay McNeil.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Hamilton, number 17. First down.
Sean Woodson, the culprit.
Fans, the Safeway fan at the
And they'll march it further down to the 31.
Be on the lookout if you're seated.
It's interesting talking to both these coaches, and they look at their teams right now. Not a lot of people talking about the Hamilton Tiger Cats being the East representative in the Grey Cup. I get the feeling that there's quiet confidence between both these coaches that they have all the pieces they need in the puzzle.
Not as far away as a lot of people think. Sankey down. And this time it's Michael Philbrick. As that front 4 of the Tiger Cats has had quite a first half. Three-minute warning being given to the benches here in the first half. 10-point Hamilton lead.
Edge, this is a defensive back getting involved in the fun. Gerald Vaughn. And Gonzalo Floyd one more time there.
Here's Kamau Peterson down inside the 20. I stand corrected. 5 sacks. You'd think Joe would have one of them, but he doesn't.
Yeah.
3 for Floyd. Well, Gerald Vaughn and Chris Schelling.
But it's not just 5 sacks. It's also 5 sacks and 33 yards of real estate that the Calgary Stampeders have lost.
A gain of 17 for Peterson.
I watched a lot of the tape, Calgary's offense a week ago, and they moved the ball in the 20s and then made those mistakes that lost the yards and cost them the game. And right now, got to give credit to that defensive line in Hamilton.
But the Stamps are now threatening. Ball at the 18, first down. And the pitch left side. Anderson broke a tackle and lunges to the 10.
I can't remember the last time I saw the first tackler bring down Calvin Anderson. I don't think it's happened. You know, and that's what you always want out of your tailback. If he can make the first guy miss or run through the tackle of the first tackler, he's a keeper. And that's Chris Schelling. Have a tremendous season, and he runs through the arms of Chris Schelling, picks up 4 or 5 extra yards.
Ball at the 10, it's 2nd and 2. Anderson, the second man through, and he should have the first down. This drive started on the Calgary 39.
It's been number 32 who's been the key to the drive, and you know, you got to think George Cortez is saying, hey, if it's not broken, just keep running it. And until they stop Calvin Anderson, it's the safest play. Takes the pressure right off of Ben Sankey's shoulders, and the football to Calvin Anderson.
Anderson was upset with his lack of production 2 weeks ago in Hamilton. He has 64 yards so far. Here's Sankey in trouble again, and once again, down he goes, and this time, it's Joe Montford.
Well, you know, you want to mix things up, but Calvin Anderson gets you there, and then on first down, 3 cracks from the 7-yard line, 32 isn't used, and then all of a sudden, you put Joe Montford into his strength, which is getting after quarterbacks. Wow, that's quite impressive. 4 seasons, 81 sacks.
So 2nd and goal, back at the 9, Sankey flushed, flag down as he throws to the end zone, touchdown, but The flag down. Aubrey Cummings with the catch.
Joe Montfort is indicating that it'll be holding against the Calgary Stampeders. Of course he would say that.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Hamilton number 39. Penalty is declined. Touchdown.
Of course he's going to say that. He's trying to sell his case.
Had me sold. Aubrey Cummings with the score.
Oh, and a big one for the Calgary Stampeders. You know, you think about this, a minute 30 left in the half. Calgary, they don't have that one stop defensively and come back and score. They're in a huge hole going in at halftime. As it turns out, they come back. Now they have the momentum on their sideline.
Impressive drive for the Stamps. Capped by the first touchdown of the year by Cummings.
That's it.
And again, it's a 3-point game with Hamilton on top. Well, Kelvin Anderson did much of the damage on the ground, and then Sankey hooks up with Aubrey Cummings to cap the drive.
Good movement by Ben Sankey to get outside and buy himself a little extra time because the coverage was there for Hamilton. But because Sankey broke contain and got outside, that's when the coverage breaks down. And Aubrey Cummings over there waving frantically. Just throw it in this corner and I've got myself 6 points. 30%, basically 30% of the yardage on the drive, though, came from Calvin Anderson.
90 seconds remaining in the first half. Troy Davis, and there's Jeff Johnson, the deep men. And again, McLaughlin has to put it back on the tee. Both teams have shown a nice mix offensively today.
Well, they have, and you know, Danny McManus with a minute 30 has plenty of time to move down at least into field goal range the Ticats offensively.
Here's Davis. And Troy Davis with the biggest kickoff return for Hamilton this year.
And this will help.
He could have gone further. It looked like he tripped over one of his own men. 39 yards was the longest return of the season. That was 40 for Davis. And he may have tripped over Trevor Shaw on his way.
Turn was designed to go to the right side, and he gets good blocking, not touched till he gets about midfield, and I agree, he tripped over his own guy, or he's still running.
A 43-yard return sets Hamilton on 1st and 10.
So the Ticats now at the Calgary 50. Right back to Davis.
And Davis gets the ball
and he's
again.
down to the 42. At least 8 there for the Hamilton running back as we join Steve.
Chris, coming up at halftime, will feature one of the defensive standouts of this game. He seems to be a defensive standout every game for the Ticats, Joe Montfort. And we'll show you how Saskatchewan upset the Ls in Montreal this afternoon in the first half of our twin bill.
A gain of nearly 9 on first
Well, the
down
talk
for
was
Davis.
about Montreal having home field advantage for the Grey Cup. They may not get home field advantage in the playoffs.
That's their third loss in a row, and congratulations to the Saskatchewan Roughriders. They had their back against the wall, and they're fighting the way out of it. So, big upset win for the Green Riders. You know, this changes things for McManus, though. When he's looking at the situation with a minute 30 left, he's thinking field goal position. But with the run from Troy Davis, he's got a chance now to look to the end zone.
Paul Lambert is the injured Ticat offensive lineman. Pascal Charon is back on the roster for the Tiger Cats this week. He'll have to come in. Gary Brown out, the import offensive lineman, as both Emerson and Davis deployed in the offense for Ron Lancaster. And he had to make that change along the offensive line. Well, this is happening. McManus and Cody Ledbetter are contemplating the next play.
Closed captioning of this program is brought to you by Mazda.
When the red and white go on the road, we drive in luxury in the red and white.
Looked like Paul Lambert was hit by Troy Davis. Running back hit him right in the back of the legs, and taking a look at his knee, he slides over to the right, and right about here, See, right in that pile down there is where Troy Davis hits Paul Lambert in the back of the legs.
Number 65, Lambert, the injured Tiger Cat, headed to the
Took a look at his knee. Sharon gets a chance.
Hamilton, 1st and 10 at the Calgary.
And they have played without Chris Burns, a veteran in the offensive line, all season long.
First down, Hamilton. Calgary 40-yard line. McManus back, looking downfield, and Andrew Grigg has the catch. Down at the 5-yard line. It's a first down for the Cats and a 35-yard pass play from McManus to Grigg.
Well, Andrew Grigg not only had to fight off the coverage from Anthony Pryor, but he also had to fight off the sun, because that ball is coming right through the sun, and it's hard to see. I was down in that corner of the end zone, and he fought both off to come up with an unbelievable catch and keep his foot in bounds.
He had a huge game at McMahon last year, 146 yards on 6 catches and a touchdown. He has 2 for 60 today, and it's 1st and goal from the 5. McManus bootleg, flag down, touchdown, Danny McManus. Somebody's offside.
That was the play a week ago.
Offside. Calgary number 35. Decline. Touchdown.
Otis Floyd jumped, and Danny McManus has a 5-yard touchdown run.
That was a play a week ago that the Hamilton Tiger Cats tried to do on a gamble against Montreal that didn't work. Calgary's seen that play on the game film all week, obviously, and were fooled by it.
So Danny pads his rushing stats up to 63 yards on the year.
Very nice speed to the outside.
Takes exception when you suggest they don't have a running game.
Well, he uses the running game to his advantage. See the little play action there? That takes the entire Calgary defensive front 7 with it. Danny McManus is in a foot race with Greg Frères, who is on the opposite side of the field as well. Watch the acceleration, watch the speed, watch the quickness. All right, okay, that may be a stretch, but he gets in the end zone, and that's the bottom line.
Boy, Greg Frères is really upset you suggested that was a foot race.
All right.
Because McManus got to the end zone, and once again, it's a 10-point Cat lead.
Well, Troy Davis, a big part of that with the return off the kickoff. And you know that Wally Buono will go into that locker room at halftime and go right into the special teams meeting. Guys, we come back, we get a touchdown, we have momentum, we kick off to them, and you let them run back to midfield, and that's where Danny McManus takes over. Not bad when you're nominated for a Heisman with Eddie George and that kind of company. Dan Warfel.
Boy, that didn't take long, did it? Less than a minute to restore their 10-point advantage. 37 seconds left. Let's see if Calgary's got a late score in them.
Well, they have a returner in Antonio Warren that can do what Davis did.
Here he is. And look at this. Not quite what Davis did, but not bad. Up to the 48, a 28-yard return. So Calgary's got decent position, but here's the scoring drive for the Cats.
After the return, Troy Davis up the middle. He picks up some yards, and keep that run in mind. This is the Andrew Grigg catch, but that Troy Davis run opens this up. A little fake, play action outside with Danny McManus. You see defensive backs had no idea. Ricky Bell has got his back to McManus.
Both times Danny McManus and Hamilton have answered Calgary touchdowns in this first half with touchdowns of their own. Sankey just over a half minute. He's going to look deep. Downfield picked off. That's Saunders with the ball. Troy Saunders, his second interception. Check that, his first interception of the year. And just the 7th for the Tiger Cats on the season.
Third start of the year for Troy Saunders, and boy, they think he is a keeper. He is a strict man-to-man cover type of defensive back, and he comes off his man to help out on this throw. Troy Saunders was covering Mark Bo Richter. That ball was not intended for Bo Richter, it was intended for Peterson. But Troy Saunders, with a great presence of mind, turns outside and picks up that interception. Now does Danny McManus have time for field goal range? He's got about 3 plays.
20 seconds to go. Hands it off to Davis. Not much there. That's just the 7th interception on the season for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And Ron Lancaster joked a couple of weeks ago when I said I wanted to cut down the interceptions, I didn't mean on defense.
Yeah. Well, Rob Hitchcock has 3 interceptions on the season. He's the only defensive back starting in this game this afternoon with an interception until that Troy Saunders one. So Joe Mumford's the only guy on the lineup right now that has one.
The other 2 by players no longer in the Hamilton lineup, and that will do it. McManus takes a knee and will take a 10-point lead to the locker room at halftime here at McMahon. Let's join Steve Armitage.
Thank you, Chris. Ronnie, that last touchdown from Danny Mack reminded me of an old quarterback who used to run in every once in a blue moon for the Saskatchewan Roughriders.
That's Frank Trapuka. But no, that was a good call. I mean, on the 5:42 seconds left, you're going to expect with Troy's running the football pretty well, you're going to give it to him. That's a pretty good call by Danny. He got in. That's all that matters.
Looks like got a good running back in Troy Davis.
Troy's he's a good football player, and we're finally glad to get the opportunity to use him, and he's going to get better every time out.
Thanks for this, Ronnie. Good luck in the second half.
Thank you.
The Hamilton Ticats and Ron Lancaster head to the dressing room here at McMahon in front of the Stampeders by 10. Welcome back to McMahon Stadium in Calgary. Troy Davis has a couple of TDs. Danny McManus has 1, and the Ticats are in front of the Stampeders by a score of 24-14. Well, almost since day 1 of the franchise history, the Hamilton Ticats have turned out outstanding defensive players. The latest in a long line of defensive players is Joe Mumford. He currently leads the CFL in quarterback sacks coming into this game with 13.
This pass number Tompkin Road Public School.
Let him out! Let him out!
Defensive end number 53, Joe Mumford.
You go out there and you're thinking right before the game, all right, now's the time to show what you've done all week. And so I got really focused on, there's going to be 2-3 guys maybe coming at me, going shooting at my legs, coming from the blind side and things of that nature. So you really have to get focused.
This guy has got a motor that runs 1,000 miles an hour, and it's constantly never stops. And you see that on the football field. He is just totally energized and takes that leadership role, and he's set a standard for himself, and the other guys better follow along.
Wow, did you see that hit? I wanted to be back there to look at it myself.
And you want to go out there and display a nice hit and then really get the fans into it and really excite the offense. You could be selfish and just try to get the sack down, but at the same time, you want to try to get the ball out. Even though it may not count as a sack on stats, it's really vital that our offense gets the ball back.
Mumford's got him. Joe gets to the quarterback again.
Joe is a bit of a perfectionist. He works as hard as he can at his position and at his skill in order to perform at an extremely high level. His quest for excellence and perfection probably is one of the main drivers behind his play.
Beautiful day in Hamilton, baby.
You got a lot of training to do to prepare yourself and get yourself ready, for the season to make, those sacks that I make and make those plays that I make on the field look so easy. You have to put a lot of work into it. So be able to do stuff like that and stay at the top of your game, it has to be something that you shoot for. If you're not shooting for the best, then you don't need to be on the field.
Big Joe Mumford has got him.
I picked it up back when I was in college, and I remember one of my opponents saying, you're not so big, your arms aren't so big. And anytime you say a statement like that, that really proves, in fact, that maybe they are a little big, because it's like saying, she's not that good looking. When in actuality, she's probably out your league, I do have that soft spot, and I know I'm gonna have a really soft spot, as my daughter grows up. I always appreciated the fact that people had, kids of their own and things of that nature, but I could never really appreciate it until you actually see the delivery of your own child, and to be able to lie in bed with her on your chest and just, to comfort her when she's maybe crying a little bit, and, really it's overwhelming. You think football, you think the things that you do in life are so big, but then they become so minute when you see something so joyous and brings so much joy to you and your family. It's just an awesome feeling.
Being a proud father has not slowed down Joe Montford in this one. He has 1 sack in this game, leads the CFL in sacks with 14. 24-14 favorite Ticats at the half. It's halftime at McMahon Stadium here in Calgary, where the Ticats lead the hometown Stampeders by 10, 24-14. Well, in the first half of our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader today, it was Saskatchewan, the decided underdogs in Montreal against the Alouettes. Another Davis, Darren Davis in action, takes it down to the 1-yard line. Kevin Smith punches it in, and Saskatchewan go in front of the Owls. In the fourth quarter, the Owls trying to mount a comeback. This is Gonzalez, goes to Hoskins. Hoskins comes up short. The Owls can't keep the drive alive. But the story for Saskatchewan was Davis. This one, a 51-yard run to ensure the victory for Saskatchewan, who keep their playoff hopes alive with a 13-7 victory over the Owls at McGill Stadium in Montreal. Well, it's been an entertaining first half here at McMahon Stadium in Calgary between the Ticats and the Stampeders. With their thoughts on the first half, let's go up to the booth. Guys?
I think Ron Lancaster has to like what he saw in the opening half. Not only does he have a 10-point lead, but special teams haven't been great all year for him. He got a big return in the game by Troy Davis to set up 1 touchdown, and a block punt set up the first touchdown of the game. But nice diversified offense, too.
It really is. Nice balance in the offense for the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They've got Troy Davis involved in the running game. He has a couple of touchdowns in the first half and is on pace for a 120-yard rushing game. That was his touchdown on a 34-yard run, and that sets up this kind of touchdown from Danny McManus. Late in the half, he uses Troy Davis to fake the football and then runs it in himself. The Calgary Stampeders, they're having problems protection-wise when it comes to the front 7 of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. And they need to get the ball to Bo Richter more in the second half, no question. He had the 1 touchdown, but they haven't seen him enough.
A couple of nice drives by the Calgary Stampeders, but what has to be disturbing is Hamilton followed right up with touchdowns of their own, and both of those were into the wind.
Yeah, and that's where Wally Buono needs his defense to step up, get that stop, and keep the momentum. They have it briefly, but Hamilton grabs it back.
Interesting that both teams really tried to develop a ground game in the first half, and it was a saw-off. Davis and Anderson both with 61 yards rushing in the opening half. So an impressive first half, at least for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and a 10-point lead. We saw Calgary come back last week in Toronto. We'll see if they can do it here today. Steve?
Well, Chris, if the Stampeders are going to pull this one out, they'll have to dig themselves out of a hole, but it won't be the first time this season they trail by 10.
Hope you're enjoying our Thanksgiving Day doubleheader. The CFL on CBC. Saskatchewan with the win in Montreal and a 10-point Hamilton lead against the Calgary Stampeders as we head down and join Steve Armitage.
Wally, it won't be the first time this season that your team has had to dig itself out of a hole. What do you have to do to get back at the Hamilton Ticats in the second half?
Well, I think one thing we got to do is just keep the momentum. We had momentum a little bit when our offense scored. We were down by 3. We don't go down and cover the kick, and all of a sudden the ball's past our midfield, which puts a lot of pressure on the defense.
Wally, if there's any chance that Ben Sankey can't do it, could we see Marcus Crandall in the second half?
Well, Marcus has practiced all week. He's fit, and if we have to call on him, then we will.
Good luck, Wally.
Thank you.
And there are the stats through the opening 30 minutes here at McMahon.
2 reasons for that number being as low as it is. 1, inexperience in the receiving corps, and 2, protection breakdowns up front. Give credit to the front 4 of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They're getting after Ben Sankey right now.
Interesting decision by Calgary. They deferred to the second half and have elected to take the ball and the wind in the third quarter, which leads you to believe the wind is not really much of a factor after all.
Or Wally Buono has connections, and he's made a couple of calls, and he knows it may shift.
It was expected to gust up a little bit as the afternoon wore on, but maybe the forecast has changed. Warren across the 35-yard line, a 15-yard return to start the second half.
Well, here's the positives if you're the Calgary Stampeders or a fan of this team, because they're rushing the ball effectively in the first half. They're moving it with Calvin Anderson when they do want to run it. Now the passing yards are down. Not a bad completion percentage, but Ben Sankey has been on the run the entire first half. They've had protection breakdowns up front. The front four for the Hamilton Tiger Cats are getting after Sankey. It's making it difficult for him to find receivers down the field.
Just his 6th CFL start. He said going back to basics last week, keeping the plays simple, helped him in the second half against the Argonauts. Here's Warren, and a big burst by Antonio Warren. A first down run on his first carry of the second half. Chris Schelling with the tackle.
Number 30 made the tackle.
That is the positive. Now, unfortunately, the Calgary Stampeders sort of declare what they're going to do by the formation they run. When they go in that receiver bunch pack where the receivers are in close to the line of scrimmage, Hamilton knows they're going to run the ball. Now, they've had success doing it, but they know they're doing it. Now, they spread everybody out, and they throw the ball. Somehow in there, they have to find balance. That can do it.
This time Anderson, and look at that cut by Kelvin Anderson to get across midfield and 8 more.
And that's exactly what I'm talking about, is to provide balance. When you go to that spread formation and you put the receivers way out wide with Kelvin Anderson in the backfield by himself, occasionally if you run the ball out of this formation like Calgary does on this play, now you've got the Hamilton defense guessing. Are they going to run or are they going to throw? Slow down that pass rush just a little bit.
They give Anderson the Hamilton 54, so it was a 9-yard gain. And 2nd and 1. Tunkara went in motion. Anderson off the left side will move the chains.
First down.
And interesting when Wally Buono talked about the fact that Marcus Crandall is healthy and could come back into this football game. Really felt like Crandall was a guy that was taking that step, taking the next step and becoming a premier quarterback in the league before he got hurt on Labor Day. He is physically okay to go in. They'd like to rest him one more game if they can. Sankey will get the call if they can stick with him.
It's interesting that they are the number 1 and 2 leaders in the pass rating efficiency category. Here's an incompletion as Sankey is unable to hook up with Kamal Peterson.
Kamal Peterson, the intended target.
Yeah, number 1 and 2, just not enough W's, not enough wins in the win column for the Calgary Stampeders, because both quarterbacks are still learning how to finish games, still learning how to win games when the game is on the line. They've moved the ball inside the 20s, but this is the play they need on 2nd and long. The completion right there.
Wally Buono was going through the stats today. The number 1 pass rating efficiency. They're number 1 in the run, number 2 in yards gained, number 3 in points, and yet here they are in a real tight battle for a playoff spot. Peterson with the catch, stopped at the 45-yard line of Hamilton. He'll be 4 yards short of a first down.
Yeah, the stats, when you look at them for this Calgary team, on both sides of the ball are pretty impressive. After the slow start their defense got, it's improved, and you wonder why they haven't won more games. But again, some inexperience in key positions and some mistakes in key times have cost them, and they still have the confidence, they have the pieces to make it work at the end of the season.
Make sure in the yard, Hamilton.
Mark McLaughlin is in. And he will be attempting a 53-yarder. Corey Grant is in the end zone.
Be his longest this season.
Pat Barnes, the holder, and that had plenty of leg, but
flags are down.
We have a penalty. And this may cost,
oh boy,
a time count violation.
Well, you know, McLaughlin wants another shot at it.
He had enough leg.
Time count violation. Calgary number 14, still 3rd down.
He's got a bit of a win, and he wants another shot at it, but it makes it that much more difficult.
And if he misses, it'll give Hamilton better field position.
Well, that's right. Corey Grant, in his career, has taken back a field goal for a touchdown.
This will be from 58 yards, which would match his career high. And you can hear the fans. He was hitting them from 50 in warm-up. Let's see. He's got the leg, but he misses just to the left. Grant's going to run it out. Corey Grant saw a seam, and he's upended as he crossed the 20-yard line.
Wide field goal out.
So plenty of light for McLaughlin, but just off target, and it remains a 10-point game. Mark McLaughlin had the leg, but just a little offline on a 58-yard attempt, and we were wondering if Corey Grant might just concede the single point, because the ball would have then been scrimmaged by Hamilton at the 51-yard line. Instead, he ran it out to the 21.
Season Danny McManus is putting together.
There's Davis, and he'll be caught behind the line of scrimmage. Otis Floyd and James Cotton prevented Davis from turning the corner.
Saw that graphic on Danny McManus in his 6 years as a starter, throwing 22.6 interceptions per year. This year, he's thrown 6 on the season, on pace to throw 9. That is a dramatic difference for Danny McManus. A lot of people saying he's not having his best year, but when you look at his numbers, they're pretty impressive. Be close to over 4,000 yards.
And that would be the 7th consecutive 4,000-yard season. Threw into traffic there. Mike Moriali didn't see it coming. He was tied up with a Calgary defender.
Yeah, there was a mistake there in the patterns between the Hamilton receivers. Darren Flutie and Mike Moriali both side by side over the middle of the field, and when that happens, someone has made a mistake. You can see right there, 2 receivers from Hamilton, Moriali and Darren Flutie, standing side by side, and they'll go straighten that out on the sideline.
86, 36,
Field 65 yards wide. You want to use every yard.
Antonio Warren back as Osbaldiston punts the ball away from his 47. Warren now turns it up, found a crease, and got it into the Hamilton territory at the 48 to 15-yard return by Warren.
A 44-yard kick.
Snap start from the 48 of Hamilton, and Antonio Warren flashing his speed for another first down run, and maybe the best 1-2 combination we've seen in some time in Calgary with Anderson and Warren. 3 of the more enthusiastic of the 31,794 on hand. 16th straight crowd of over 30,000, Glenn.
You have hair like that, you borrow your guy's hat. See the guy's hat on the side? He's got to get his buddy's hat if you got hair like that. Yikes.
First down, now Anderson, and off the right side, crashing down to the 28-yard line.
I mean, if I'm George Cortez in this situation, I'm just running the football. They just run it left, run it right. You got Antonio Warren. You can give Kelvin Anderson a rest every now and then, but they are having success running the football. When they throw it, they play to Hamilton's strengths. Can George Cortez be patient enough to continue to do that is the question.
Second and 2. Anderson behind the fullback Regimbald. Another first down as he gets to the 22-yard line. Sean Woodson stopping Anderson, but not before a third straight first down on this drive.
Hamilton Tiger Cats, on the other hand, are going to start to continue to creep up towards the line of scrimmage. I'm talking more about the secondary. Rob Hitchcock may get a little closer if Kelvin Anderson continues to run the way he's been running. And that opens up the deep pass to Ben Sankey if Hamilton's defense gets caught in that.
4 receivers right out of the shotgun, but a handoff to Anderson once again. And Gonzalo Floyd with the tackle.
Rob Hitchcock has been the key to that for Hamilton. When they play the Montreal Alouettes and Mike Pringle, they usually bring Rob Hitchcock down, and they may think of doing that as this game progresses the way Kelvin Anderson is running. They like to use Hitchcock to get down in that linebacking core, help Jason Lamar, Chris Schelling, and Sean Woodson. But what it does is expose the middle of the field deep, and that's where Mark Boerichter comes in.
Well, that is not the normal play selection balance for Calgary, but it seems to be working here. Second down, Sankey pulls it down, slides to the 19, and he's going to be about a yard short. Took that to 14, about a yard short of a first down.
Well, the way that they're running the football, this seems like a no-brainer to go ahead and go, although it is a long 2 yards. And as much success as they've had rushing the football, all they need is one bobbled snap, and Hamilton stops them on the gamble, and Wally Buono's not going to take that gamble.
You're right, the spot was the 15. He didn't get the slide.
He didn't get that extra yard on the slide.
And it is 3rd and 2.
Number 13,
so McLaughlin comes on.
Again, attempting a 21-yard field goal.
They'll spot this at the 21. They faked out of that formation in Hamilton unsuccessfully. McLaughlin kicks this through, and it is a 1 converted touchdown lead for Hamilton midway through the 3rd quarter. Well, a reminder for the latest on the war on terrorism and the other news of the day. Watch Canada Now following this game, Manitoba East, and at 6 o'clock local time in Saskatchewan, Alberta, and BC. At the 35, Danny McManus takes over. A flag's gone down, and so is the Hamilton quarterback as Joe Fleming brings McManus to the turf.
Maybe the Calgary Stampeders have found the answer when it comes to trying to sack Danny McManus. 3 sacks 2 weeks ago against McManus. I mean, it really is amazing when you look at the numbers. Danny McManus and the Hamilton Tiger Cats have allowed 37 sacks in the last 3 years. Calgary last year alone gave up 55. So that gives you a little perspective, but Calgary's getting there somehow.
Procedure, illegal formation, Hamilton number 68. Holding, Hamilton number 68. Both penalties are declined. 2nd down.
Well, Dave Hack involved in both the penalties, and both will be declined. And look, that's an amazing stat. 7 in 99, the 2nd best all-time, 13 and 8 this year. And 5 of those have been by Calgary. Here's Davis. And Davis nailed at the 34 as he came close to the original line of scrimmage. Kelly Malvo, the tackle.
Not a bad call, though, from Hamilton. It's kind of a damage control call. You go in there and you run the ball. You don't want to panic. You've had 2 penalties and a sack on the previous play.
Formation, Hamilton number 68. Decline, 3rd down.
You have a penalty on the play you run. It's almost damage control. Get your punter on there, kick the ball, put your defense on the field, and see if they can't respond.
Well, Big Dave Hack, an illegal formation call. Is he not setting up right on the line?
Yeah, he's just off the line of scrimmage. You have to have a certain amount of number on the line, and Dave Hack kind of made that line look a bit like a bow.
So has Baldiston on 3rd down. Good punt. Warren back at his 31. Antonio Warren up to the 45. So Calgary with good field position. They trail by 7. 6 minutes to go. 3rd quarter.
Hey, this is Mike Riley. I had a great time in the CFL. Congratulations, CBC, for 50 great years of Canadian football.
And one of the real good guys in pro football, unfortunately smarting after a loss yesterday, the first for the Chargers in the new NFL season.
Not bad, 3-1 though with Doug Flutie at the helm.
Here's Sankey on 1st down. Montfort trying to track him down, but a completion to Warren. Antonio Warren, who leads the CFL in all-purpose yards. And he has done it in all facets today, catching the ball, running the ball, and returning the ball.
Of course, just to remind CFL football fans, he also has Dave Dickinson in San Diego and Davis Sanchez from Montreal, but 2 former Calgary Stampeder quarterbacks down there with Riley in San Diego. Had a chance to go down in a mini camp and chat with them, and always watching the Canadian Football League. Really enjoyed his time with them.
And here's Kelvin Anderson wrapped up by Joe Montfort, two of the best involved in that play.
Well, this is where Ben Sankey has struggled in the game. It's when he's been in second and long. That's second and about 7 or more. So far, Kelvin Anderson and Antonio Warren together have been able to put him in better situations than this. But now that Hamilton defense is starting to figure out the running game.
Loss of 1, 2nd and 11. Here comes the rush. Sankey got it away, and it's knocked down, and a flag flies. Sean Woodson made the defensive play. Airtight coverage, and it was a little too tight, apparently.
Well, he was there the entire time in perfect position. I think maybe just his right arm got on the back.
Hamilton, number 17, first down.
It was Mark Bullrichter, the intended target. Sean Woodson was there standing beside Bullrichter the entire play. Bullrichter's going to come and just do a little curl pattern. When he does, Sean Woodson reads it. Now he just sits on the receiver. Now there he goes. Nothing wrong there. But he's got that right hand around the waist of Mark Bullrichter, and that's what they called, because he got the ball with his left hand.
Ball down to the 38 of the Tiger Cats, and Kelvin Anderson explodes, now drops the ball, and it looks like Aubrey Cummings gets back on it.
Great hustle by Aubrey Cummings to bail out his teammate.
Rob Hitchcock, the safety, jarred Anderson, but Aubrey Cummings, who has a touchdown in this game, picked up his teammate.
Yeah, and that's something that the team can build on if you're Calgary. Calgary Stampeders can build on this, because this is nothing more than a hustle play. This is Aubrey Cummings. There goes Kelvin Anderson up with the top, the hit from Hitchcock. Now, Aubrey Cummings, because he hustles on the play and he never quits, bails his teammate out. For all the young football players watching, you hustle on every single play, good things will happen, and you'll win more games than you'll lose. And that's an example of what hustle can bring you.
He beat Troy Saunders to the ball, and Saunders nicked on the play.
From whistle to whistle, coaches tell you that whether you're in minor football or playing in the professional level. You keep moving, keep getting around the football, good things will happen. If Aubrey Cummings takes that play off, Hamilton Tiger Cats have the football.
14 yards, the carry for Anderson, who goes over 100 for the game.
Well, 75% of the time when he does that, they win. Pretty good hit by Rob Hitchcock to jar that ball out of there. But again, look at that hustle from Aubrey Cummings. That's like in basketball, they say when you have a loose ball in basketball, it's all about heart and desire, who wants it more. And that time, Aubrey Cummings wanted it more. Let's see if the Calgary Stampeders can build on that.
7th 100-yard game of the year for Kelvin Anderson.
20th in his career. Moving up the list.
And he's closing in on Earl Lunsford for the all-time rushing lead in the Calgary Stampeders franchise history. He needed 166 yards coming in to pass Lunsford.
Just, you know, the word that comes to mind when you talk about Kelvin Anderson to me is simply consistency. I mean, year in and year out, over 1,000 yards. It's all he knows in professional football. Troy Saunders looks like he has a bit of a shoulder problem.
Clifford Ivory will come in to replace Saunders. It's a first down, Calgary at the Hamilton 24. Warren on the toss, left side with the seam, and Hitchcock came across to save a touchdown, but it's another first down for the Stamps on the ground.
Right now, Fred Childress is doing a pretty good job blocking Joe Mumford in the run game. Both him and Thomas Ram, depending on what side of the field Mumford will line up. It's going to be to the left of your screen. Watch number 68. Now he's to the right. He has sealed off Joe Mumford. Mumford late getting around Fred Childress, and when he does, it opens up the hole for Antonio Warren. It allows Childress and Thomas Ram to attack Mumford rather than sit back and wait for him to use his speed against him in the passing game.
Gain of 12. It's at the 12. 1st and 10 for Calgary. This time play action. Sankey rolls throws in the end zone and nearly picked off. Intended for Bo Richter, and Brandon Hamilton got a hand on the ball.
Well, Hamilton made a nice adjustment on the football when it was in the air because he had his body positioned in the wrong way. What Ben Sankey was trying to do was throw it to his back and hope that Bo Richter would react. See, he's got his back turned. See, his shoulders are turned to the sideline, but watch him flip his shoulders around and recover, find the ball, and knock it down. Brandon Hamilton does not have an interception on the season. He has 5 knockdowns. Sometimes they count just as much.
Sorry, Glenn, thought Sankey might have run there, but did Montford close on the Calgary quarterback in a hurry? 2nd and 10. Pass intended for Anderson, and a flag flies.
Chris, I think Joe Montford changed the direction of that throw. Ben Sankey had Calvin Anderson short immediately, but Montford was right in his passing lane.
Forward pass interference. Calgary, number 87. Penalties decline. 3rd down.
Aubrey Cummings was jostling with Brandon Hamilton. It is declined, and Montford had a couple of knockdowns 2 weeks ago against Sankey and the Stamps.
Yeah, it looked to me like Sankey adjusted the throw in the air, and you can see how far off the target it was to Calvin Anderson. Now, the Aubrey Cummings penalty would have taken it away anyways. But that's what Joe Montford, those are little things he does away from the ball.
Lines up a 19-yard field.
So a 19-yard attempt for McLaughlin. And he puts another through, and it's now a 24-20 Hamilton lead. Hamilton's first play on this series as they scrimmage from the 35. Jeff Traversy with the tackle on Troy Davis. That's just the 5th offensive play for the Tiger Cats in this 3rd quarter.
Yeah, Calgary Stampeders offensively again have controlled the football from 20 to 20. But they've only come away with 2 field goals. So if you're the Hamilton Tiger Cats, that's a bit of a moral victory for you. You haven't controlled the game in the second half, and yet you've only given up 6 points.
2nd and 6. 4 Cat receivers right side, and the pass incomplete. Darren Flutie was being held up by Alondra Johnson, looking for a flag, but nothing on the carpet.
One of the ways the Calgary Stampeders are going to try and stop Darren Flutie is to use their linebackers and try and double-team Flutie with the linebacker and a halfback, whether it be Joe Barnes or Ricky Bell. Whoever's covering Flutie can stay to the outside, and they want to get Alondra Johnson and Otis Floyd, one of the 2 linebackers, to vice them off or to double-team them. That's what they did there, and it worked well for them.
So still some time for Calgary with the wind in this 3rd quarter. Minute 15 to play. And is Baldiston to punt. Line drive, Warren on the run. Antonio Warren shakes one, keeps going all the way down to the 40. He's had a big afternoon, and that's a 31-yard return of a 32-yard punt.
The return was made when he attacked the football. Antonio Warren aggressive with the football. A lot of young players would be a little nervous about attacking the ball like this and maybe causing a fumble. He attacks it and he catches all the Hamilton tacklers off guard.
Hamilton 40, 1st and 10.
Number 2 behind Charles Roberts of Winnipeg in punt returns on the year. He's the number 1 man in kickoff returns, and again in all-purpose yards, and he's had another solid afternoon.
You have to have a ton of confidence in yourself to attack the football. That was a low driver by Ozzie, and big yards for Antonio Warren.
Here's Anderson, the pitch right side, and down to the 30, forced out at the 29. And that should be a 1st down for Kelvin Anderson.
First down run.
Yeah, he does it both ways. He was in a bit of a foot race there with Sean Woodson to the outside, and there Anderson using his speed and the old-fashioned straight arm. Seen it a couple of times in this game.
Having a big afternoon, 11 yards there.
We talked about him catching George Reed. Well, George Reed used that old straight arm a bunch of times in his career.
Anderson shifts, but, well, he beats another guy. That's a heck of a run for a yard or two.
It really is. That's something out of nothing for Calvin Anderson, and this is where you cue Antonio Warren. You see Anderson get up immediately and wave over. Come on, I need a little rest here. There's a lot of moves for a yard and a half, or 2 yards.
Jeff Pilon is down. The right guard getting some attention. But you know what? I've always had the feeling Calvin Anderson never has gotten his due because he plays in the shadow of Mike Pringle.
There's no question. And, you know, he's the other running back when everyone talking about Pringle, and Pringle does it so dramatically when he powers up and takes people on his back. And that's why I say Calvin Anderson, the word, you don't really think power. You don't necessarily think speed. He has both those traits. He can make you miss in the hole. Rarely will the first tackler ever bring him down. Consistency is the word I think about when I think of Calvin Anderson. And if you can get consistency, 1,000-yard seasons from your tailback, well, that's all you ask for. And he should get the credit.
Pilon being helped off. And David Heisman, who started at right guard at the outset of the season, just back off an injury, and he will come in all likelihood to replace Pilon. Second down and 8 for Calgary at the Hamilton 27. Short pass to Kamal Peterson, and he is stopped by Brandon Hamilton at the 20.
And that will be short of the first down. And you got to wonder, is Wally Buono in that area now where he's contemplating gambling?
I think this is a little closer than that last decision where he opted for the field goal.
It is
3rd and 2.
It's closer, but it's still 2 yards. And I can feel what he's going through. I mean, you're so tempted. You got a bit of a breeze at your back. You're losing the 3rd quarter. Hamilton's going to have that breeze in the 4th quarter of the entire game, but you've only come away with 2 field goals so far. This would be the 3rd attempt.
A 29-yard field goal.
So McLaughlin trying to get Calgary within 1.
And it's good.
Does it on the final play of the 3rd quarter. Mark McLaughlin has Calgary within a point with 1 quarter left at McMahon.
The 4th quarter just about to get underway here in Calgary. It's the Ticats on top by 1, 24-23. You're looking at the right knee of Jeff Pilon. It is strained knee ligaments. Trainer Pat Clayton got the ice on it, and Pilon has been pulled for the time being, guys.
And so we head into the 4th quarter. Hamilton still with the lead, but Calgary with some momentum.
Well, you see the time of possession, 25 minutes, 34 seconds for Calgary. They took the lead big time in that 3rd quarter. They controlled the football, but came away with just 9 points and are still a point back of the Ticats. So in some ways you got to think that's a moral victory for Hamilton, as Ben Sankey is attended to on the sideline. Looking at that hamstring again, Chris.
Trying to stretch that hamstring out. Ticats had possession 3 times in the 3rd quarter, and all 3 times 2 and out. Here's Davis. Just stepped out.
Number 32, Troy Davis on the return.
And so McManus will try and kickstart this Hamilton offense.
Usually when he starts to kickstart the offense, he'll look to number 82, Darren Flutie, to do that for him. And right now, Calgary are doing a nice job of taking Flutie out of the game. He had an early start, but now they're starting to double team him a little bit with the linebackers and the defensive halfbacks. See if they stick with it here in this 4th quarter.
Look at that stat, 7 yards offense for Hamilton, 3rd quarter. Davis hit the line hard, bounced off, but only got a yard. James Cotton in on the Calgary tackle.
And this is the down that they will double team Darren Flutie, and they have in the second half. And the way they'll do it is Ricky Bell is the halfback, number 26. He'll line up on Darren Flutie, him or Joe Barnes, depending on what side Flutie comes out of that offensive huddle on, and then get some help from one of the linebackers. Flutie will come to our side of the field. It'll be Bell, and then he'll get help from Alonda Johnson.
2nd and 9 from the Tiger Cat 45. McManus over the middle, and Corey Grant is stopped short of the first down.
And that's what it does when you can take away Darren Flutie. Now Danny McManus has to drop the ball off on the short pattern to Corey Grant and just hope that Grant can make the first down on his own. So good game plan by Mike Roach, the defensive coordinator, the Calgary Stampeders, to try and take away the Hamilton Tiger Cats' most potent weapon. That's on the left of your screen. It's Mike Roach, the defensive coordinator.
27-18.
Alondra Johnson with that stop as he closes in on 1,000 tackles in his illustrious CFL career. Osbaldiston with the wind at his back, and this one will kick into the end zone, and a single point makes it a 2-point game. 71-yard punt. 25-23. That was not what Osbaldiston was hoping for. And a reminder, Labatt Saturday night, our 50th season of Hockey Night in Canada. And the lineup of games, St. Louis will be in Toronto. We'll also have the New York Rangers with Eric Lindros visiting Daniel Alfredson in Ottawa. That got your attention.
Well, it'll be interesting to see him. How are my Canucks doing?
Well, off to a tough start.
Oh, boy.
And they play Dallas and Colorado this week before the Avalanche, the Stanley Cup champs, go to Vancouver.
We could be 0-3, huh?
It's early. Kelvin Anderson. And he breaks 4 tackles, gets to the 40. And 5 more for Anderson on a very productive afternoon.
Number 93, Aaron Williams, made the stop.
Well, he has been productive. It doesn't matter what side he's been running on. He's had good balance, running both left and right, inside, and then when he gets to the outside with great speed there on Sean Woodson. Doesn't really matter. And this is the play that he, for 2 yards, made 8 moves.
Well, it's not a primary focus for him right now, but he's 39 yards short from becoming the all-time Calgary Stampeders rusher. Here's Sankey. Nothing wrong with the hamstring here as Sankey dives down to the Hamilton 42.
Tremendous run because it looked like it was still bothering him, and he still had the speed to get to the outside. We saw them working on Ben Sankey's hamstring. This is a courageous effort just to go out, take off, and run. You got a bad hamstring, and psychologically it messes with you more than physically sometimes. Ben Sankey has that in the back of his mind. If he takes off and yanks it, he could be gone for the season. Watch Kelvin Anderson on the backside. Kelvin Anderson on Joe Mumford helping his quarterback out. He is doing it all this afternoon.
That's part of that Jeff Garcia mentality that Wally Buono has talked about with Ben Sankey.
Oh, baby.
We're not used to seeing this in the Calgary camp, although they do have the league lead this year in rushing, but they're already 80 yards over their average. Anderson again, picking his way at the line of scrimmage. So this time limited to 2. Philbrook closed the door.
Well, you know, and football fans out there must be wondering, well, what does Hamilton do to stop Kelvin Anderson as he moves up this list? The Calgary Stampeders.
And the winning ticket number is...
He's on the doorstep now to catch Earl Lunsford. You know what you do? You need to get all 12 hats on him. You've seen how Kelvin Anderson will make the first tackler miss every single time. Well, you need to get all 12 there, and that's where Don Southern wants the pursuit of his defense to step up.
2nd and 8. Sankey looking downfield. Peterson open. And he's got it out of bounds at the 13.
Peterson does a nice job to just secure the catch. He is wide open, and the tendency for young players in that situation is to try and make the catch and turn and stay in bounds and try and score with the football when you're this wide open. Play action setting it up. The jam is missed right there, and look how open Peterson is. But a wise move, just secure the catch first.
Jeff Pilon on the cart, headed to the Calgary room. Peterson made a Darren Flutie-like one-hander 2 weeks ago at Ivor Wynn. And this catch has Calgary knocking at the door again. Toss to Warren. Montfort could get a grab on him, but they do slow it down. And he's stuffed at the 12-yard line. Hitchcock and Woodson finish off Antonio Warren.
How would you like to be the Hamilton defense in this offensive formation from Calgary? You've got Calvin Anderson going left, Antonio Warren going right. Which one do you go with? Wow. And that's the double threat, both playing in the backfield at the same time, and that will spread out the defensive line. They have to respect both directions.
Now just a yard that time for Warren. 2nd and 9 from the 12. Here comes the rush. Sankey ducked underneath. Tunkara can't hold on at the goal line.
A lot of traffic down there. Tunkara. I think Brandon Hamilton took the worst of the hit.
Brandon Hamilton.
There were some bodies flying at the goal line, and Hamilton took the worst of it for sure.
You know, Ben Sankey will be criticized for his inability to throw the football in this game if Calgary should lose. But he has not been able to set up and throw once. The pressure has been on him all game long, and if he has got the ball off, it's been on the run or running for his life.
He ducked under Schelling that time, who was coming on the blitz, and delivered the football, and it was off the hands of Tunkara.
Really should have had that catch, although Brandon Hamilton was right there to hit him, and Hamilton is just getting up now.
$1,000 is $290.
Nevertheless, the Stamps have driven into a position where Mark McLaughlin can kick Calgary into the lead. Wally Guano's team has not won a game this year when trailing at the half. They're 0-7 in that department.
Lining up for another 19-yard.
They've been down by 10.
Number 13, Mark McLaughlin.
This for the lead. And Mark McLaughlin puts it through. 10:19 left on the clock. 26-25 for Calgary in the fourth.
CBC and the CFL. You can't get more Canadian than that. Congratulations on 50 great seasons.
And our thanks to the great Canadian on the PGA Tour. Well, what would you expect between Calgary and Hamilton? Last year, an overtime win by Calgary, 41-38 at McMahon. It was 24-22 for the Tiger Cats at Ivor Wynn. And earlier this year, an overtime game in Hamilton. And there's a ball that's skipped by Davis inside the 5. Roy Davis trying to recover, and he's nailed at the 13-yard line. Willie Fells, the former Tiger Cat, with a big hit on special teams.
I guess you can tell where the momentum is at this point in the football game. You can always see where momentum is sitting when you look at the special teams. A mistake by Troy Davis, but after this mistake, when he picked up the football, he still had blocking help to his right. But watch the hustle from the Calgary cover team. Led by Otis Floyd, who shoots the gap and is right there with the big hit on it.
And again, this after a field goal when Hamilton could have had the football at the 35, opted for the big return. And Davis misplayed it. Fans trying to stoke up the defense, and Averson is whacked by Anthony Pryor, incomplete. And Archie did well just to get up from that hit.
Well, you can see the enthusiasm from the Calgary Stampeders now. This is the point in football games that they've had a breakdown all season long. Someone has come up with a bad mistake, but you can tell they're trying to work through that, and they're trying to use the enthusiasm and the momentum they have to carry them through it. Anthony Pryor jumping around after that big hit.
2nd and 10, and McMahon Stadium is rocking now. Here's Amerson, And he has a big first down, and Greg Prayers brings him to the turf at the 39.
Number 9 at the catch and run. Greg
And is that the first down for the Cats in the second half?
It's a gain of 26.
Kelly Malvo was in coverage, and you know it was pretty good position for Malvo as he cuts across the field right here. Number 3, he closes nicely, is in pretty good position, but he gambles when he dives. When he dives, what he's saying is, if I get the football, I make the play. If I don't, Archie Amerson picks up big yardage. If he keeps his feet and makes the tackle, Amerson gets about 15 yards less than that.
4 2-and-outs before that second down conversion by McManus. McManus looks downfield. Mike Morreale wide open, drops it. Joe Barnes has it. Joe Barnes picks up the Morreale fumble, tossed out. There's a flag. Amerson will be flagged for roughing, and he may be fortunate just to get out of there.
Well, when you're going to rough somebody, you don't do it in the opposition's bench. Because everybody over there in the Calgary Stampeders tried to get a shot in on Amerson when he threw Joe Barnes to the bench on the sideline.
Oh, that fumble really hurts after a 43-yard Morreale reception.
The Hamilton Tidecat receivers.
First down.
The Hamilton Ticats receivers have dropped footballs all season long. We talked about Mike Morreale's slow start. Played better 2 weeks ago against the Calgary Stampeders and continued to drop the ball at inopportune times.
Timeout on the field, 8:32 to go.
There is head coach Ron Lancaster right there. Ron Lancaster, there is Mike Morreale. There's about a 10-yard buffer zone that I don't think Mike Morreale will approach. The ball is stripped by William Fields, but Mike Morreale has a 43-yard gain if he secures the football and is tackled right there.
And after the penalty to Amerson, the ball at the 46. Kelvin Anderson shoots the gap, and he's going to score. Touchdown, Calgary. 46 yards. For the new all-time rushing leader in Calgary Stampeder history.
Congratulations to Kelvin Anderson, and he does it in style. What a run. Great blocking up front. Kelvin Anderson is untouched. Offensive line coach Dan DeRazio was halfway out on the field after that play. He was so pumped up with his offensive line. And they deserve a lot of credit for the yardage Kelvin Anderson has put on the board here this afternoon.
Score is 32-25. And now McLaughlin to add the extra point.
And now number 13, Mark McLaughlin for the Calgary.
I was wondering about 2, but they elect for the convert. And an 8-point lead, just under 8 minutes to go. Kelvin Anderson's going over 1,000 yards on the season today, over 7,000 yards in his career today. He's gone past Earl Lunsford on the all-time Calgary running list. And will that touchdown put Calgary over the top today? They have 19 second-half points to lead 33-25.
Darren Davis had a nice game in Saskatchewan. Michael Jenkins played well for Toronto, but I think you're looking at your offensive player of the week right now in Kelvin Anderson.
He is 5 yards short of his best game ever in the CFL. Troy Davis. Davis still going up to the 45-yard line.
Davis with the return for the Tiger Cats.
And it all was set up by a fumble from Mike Morreale.
Joe Barnes picks it up, and remember there was a penalty tacked on after this when Archie Amerson right here. Joe Barnes is on the sideline. That sets up the run. And what a run it was to go over Earl Lunsford.
3 years ago, Anderson had 167 yards in a game against Hamilton. Oriali back in the offensive scheme for the Tiger Cats.
Well, if I'm Calgary, maybe just show Kelvin Anderson out there on defense right now.
He's done it all. Danny Mack back to work and overthrows Davis out of the backfield.
Put Davis at the wide receiver position to hope to get a matchup where a linebacker would have to come out and cover him. And the Calgary Stampeders made a mistake in their coverage. Davis was open as he came across the middle. You see him all the way out there from the running back position. Anthony Pryor not sure if he was supposed to pick him up, so he hesitates. He's open, but the ball slightly overthrown.
You know, Glenn, Danny Barrett took some heat a few weeks ago when he went against conventional wisdom and took the wind in the first quarter and the third quarter instead of second and fourth. Wally Bono's done that in the second half, and it's worked like a charm so far. McManus, open receiver, and what a catch. Corey Grant laid out. No, incomplete. Greg Frères with the heavy hit. Maybe Corey hung on, but Frères jarred it loose.
Very close on the sideline, but Greg Frères, who struggled in the first couple of series, has come back strong. Little double move by Corey Grant, and Greg Frères traveled the entire length of the field to get all the way over there and put the shoulder into Corey Grant as he's about to catch that football. Perfect timing, and he covered a lot of ground.
That was a separator.
27.
Separating Grant from the football, Warren awaits another Osbaldiston punt. Antonio Warren's been running wild. The game he's had. Up to the 47. And all the momentum behind the Stampeders. A 21-yard return. A reminder that following this game for viewers from Manitoba East, it's Canada Now. An update on the latest news. Saskatchewan, Alberta, BC viewers will see it at its normal time, 6 o'clock local. Well, let's listen to the Frères hit on Corey Grant.
That's when playing free safety is fun.
Yeah, the old safety just lit up in here. Here's Calvin Anderson to midfield. 7 more. And with that gain, Calvin Anderson has now gone to his best game ever, rushing the football in the CFL.
And you know, I can't emphasize enough the importance of this game for the Calgary Stampeders. They hang on and win this game. They are now in a tie, the Edmonton Eskimos, for first place in the Western Division. From third to first in 1 win. You know, and a chance to maybe control their own destiny and host a playoff game.
2nd and 4. Sankey keeps lunging into the Hamilton territory. That ball came loose, I believe. No, he's got it.
Yeah, I think he dropped it and got it back. You're absolutely right.
And did recover.
It'll be 3rd down.
3rd down, Calgary.
Well, thought offensively Hamilton would have to hang on to the ball. How about Mike Morreale? Dropping a keep pass, 43-yard catch. That hit the ground, contained Calvin Anderson. Haven't been able to do that. That's why they're behind. Bo Richter, with the play of Calvin Anderson, has not had to be a big a factor, but he did have that first touchdown catch. Not one catch for Darren Flutie in the second half.
Duncan O'Malley in punt formation on
39 it's working out like we wrote it up.
You had this thing figured out. Flag down as O'Malley's punt skips past Amerson inside the 5, down at the goal line. But there is a flag.
Gerald Vaughn was looking over to the Hamilton bench and indicating that there may be a penalty against Calgary, which means they would have to kick the football again, which would be a huge break for Hamilton.
Holding, Calgary number 34, repeat 3rd down.
Ken Ring has had problems up front. He is the guy who was blocking Gerald Vaughn early in the game when Vaughn, he's right over here, and this is exactly where Vaughn came off the corner and blocked that punt early on Duncan O'Malley. This time you see him holding it.
And if there's no hold, there may be a second block punt.
Absolutely.
So Manny has to go back to work, and as much as all the momentum's in Calgary's favor, this game still isn't done. 5:24 to go and an 8-point advantage.
Well, you wonder with the momentum they had, but they just came away with field goals. Other than that, Calvin Anderson, they had 4 field goals inside the 30-yard line.
Clifford Ivory almost got that one. Here's Grant, and he is forced out at the 31. But Danny McManus has time on the clock.
And 7 on the return.
As Hamilton tries to...
And it's a lot of time. I mean, it's 5-10. That's time for 2, 3. Sometimes you can get even 4 possessions within 6 minutes offensively if your defense plays well.
Aldi Henry, number 9.
See Clifford Ivory very, very close. In fact, he almost went by it. They feel they have 3 that can block. Clifford Ivory, Gerald Vaughn, and Joe Mumford. They'll move them around. They have, and given Calgary Stampeders some problems.
Aldi Henry cramping up, the top man on special teams for Calgary, number 2 in the league behind Mike Maurer of the BC Lions. And on our 50th anniversary of the CFL on CBC next Saturday, will Mike Pringle be back in the lineup for Montreal when they meet the Argos at Skydome? And by the way, Glenn, we talked about everything Kelvin Anderson's passed today. Kelvin Anderson's the new rushing leader in the CFL by a yard at the moment over Mike Pringle.
Of course, Mike Pringle didn't play this afternoon, like you mentioned. I'm sure Mike Pringle will be back next week for that game. And boy, I bet you when you looked at the schedule, Chris, at the beginning of very early in the year, 3-4 weeks into it, and saw Montreal, Toronto, and
maybe not.
But hey, it's changed now. Toronto's fighting back, and Montreal 3-game losing streak. So
here's the scenario for you. Now it's a stretch,
okay,
but what about the Argos representing the West in the Grey Cup and the Blue Bombers representing the East? Little jolt of Canadian geography for you.
Well, the Argos and Stampeders both have 5 wins right now.
Here's Troy Davis. Good carry across the 40, close to a first down.
That win in BC for the Toronto Argonauts was huge because it makes that crossover possibility not just a mathematical possibility, but a real possibility. Now it's sort of a 5-horse race in the West Division to see who will get those 3 playoff spots. Now in Hamilton, they're looking at trying to host a playoff game. And still can with the way Montreal's played of late.
Trying to move within 2 of Montreal today with the game in hand. 1st and 10, McManus has a completion. Corey Grant with the catch, back-to-back first downs for the Ticats for the first time in the second half.
Corey Grant got a little bit lucky there. He kind of waited on that football on the sideline, and Anthony Pryor came very close to knocking it down. Corey Grant stopped when the ball was in the air, and the receivers are always taught to continue to come back towards it.
Under 4 minutes to play. First down, Hamilton. A lot of time. Couple pumps, and then throws incomplete.
And he threw it away. Danny McManus wanted Archie Amerson over the middle, and he wasn't ready to throw the football when he opened up. And because of that, everything else broke down for him. He waited as long as he could, and then rather than take the loss, just threw it down the field. Danny McManus knows all he needs is 2nd and 10. They'll reload and try it again. There's where he wanted Amerson. Wasn't ready to throw there. Ray Jacobs right in his throwing lane, so he throws it away.
Clark at the game, enjoying the proceedings with Calgary up by 8. 2nd down, McManus guns it wide side. Nearly picked.
William Fields was thinking touchdown. That was a long throw that didn't happen in perfect timing for Danny McManus. That ball has to travel about 45 yards, and watch William Fields coming downhill. Oh, right through his hands, or he is in the end zone. Remember William Fields? They went over there to Edmonton in the rematch after Labor Day. Eskimos trying for a 2-point convert to put it out of reach, and Fields took it the distance to win the game for the Stampeders.
It's been a wacky year. That was maybe the wackiest finish of them all. Here's Warren, back inside the 10-yard line. And they stop his progress at the 15, and this is as deep as Calgary's had to start with the football in this second half. 3-minute warning being given to the benches with an 8-point Calgary lead at McMahon. Calgary has outscored Hamilton 19-1 in this second half.
It's a key possession for the Hamilton defense. If they can stop them 2 and out here, they get field position.
Haven't been able to stop this man today. This time they wrap him up and toss Anderson to the turf.
If you think about the scenario right now, if the Calgary Stampeders don't get another yard, Duncan O'Mahony is kicking the football from his goal line. That gives the Hamilton offense great field position. Now, they get 2 possessions, they kick a single on 1. Now they're a converted touchdown away from tying. So this is a key play of the football game right here for the Hamilton defense.
2nd down and 9, Calgary.
Don Southern looking on anxiously. 2nd and 9, play action, and they overthrow a wide open. And Mark shows his frustration, and so does the young quarterback.
Ben Sankey tried to aim that football. Rather than just dropping back and delivering a strike over the middle, it's going to be right in this area. He aimed it. He tried to aim it in there. He got soft with the delivery, and it flew over Mark Boerichter's head, who was wide open for a first down. Now the scenario is created.
The scenario you just mentioned, and then you can factor in that they've had 1 block, come close another time. That's another aspect that Ticat fans can be hanging on here.
Uh-oh.
Manny just got it away. Tony Aikens.
No yards.
No yards to tack on. And Aikens scampers out inside the 35. There are 2 different penalty markers on the field.
Well, that might eliminate the no yards if there was some sort of holding from Hamilton, but either way, look at the field position now that Hamilton has. That's why that possession was so important for the Hamilton defense. You're down by 8. You really touchdown or 2-point convert, or if you get a single here. And then now you're just a converted touchdown away with 1 more possession.
Hamilton number 26. No yards. Calgary number 36. First down.
So Diedrich Mathis of the Tiger Cats called for holding. Lawrence Deck was the Calgary player within the 5-yard restraining area. The ball is marked at the 45 of the Stampeders.
And defensively, this is where you have Danny McManus looking at you. The defensive backs start to get a little tight. Back up a couple more steps.
2:18 on the clock. Pitch pass to Darren Flutie. And Flutie has a first down, nailed out of bounds at the 32.
See, Chris, defensive backs are staring at Danny McManus, one of the masters, bringing his team back, and all of a sudden you give up a little more yardage. Now you give up some more yards. Look at the space that Darren Flutie has when he catches a football. 6-7 yards before he's ever touched. I mean, that's where you start backing up. That's where the leadership from Alonja Johnson has to come in. Turn around and say, guys, play aggressively or we lose it.
He was talking about killer instinct yesterday, something that's lacked this year. Let's see what happens here. McManus airing it out, downfield. Corey Grant, touchdown!
Number 2, Corey Grant with the Hamilton touchdown.
Corey Grant beating William Fields. They're within 2.
This is the one that will drive Wally Blano nuts because he had the perfect call defensively. William Fields was supposed to be deep in that side of the field, and he got all turned around when the ball was in the air.
Well, still lots of time whether this is successful or not.
Well, no question. That's why you could have punted for a single and had another possession. Now they got the major. Go for it now for sure. They get the ball back again.
Ticats trying to tie it up. McManus in the end zone, and he's got it. Andrew Grigg has the 2 points.
Two things, Chris, when you look at this. 4 times in the second half, the Calgary Stampeders have been inside the 30-yard line. They've dominated the game in the second half, and they've come away with just 4 field goals, the 1 touchdown by Kelvin Anderson, the exception. That has kept Hamilton in the game, and then in a perfect call defensively, William Fields gets all turned around, and Corey Grant is in for the touchdown.
Heck of a catch by Grant. His 2nd touchdown of the season.
Well, and maybe a tougher catch even here for Andrew Grigg, because there's a lot of traffic in there, and he comes up with it, keeps his feet across that line.
And a little flashback to 94.
Yeah.
McManus to Flutie for the winning points.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
In that Western Final. Same play, different receiver.
And there was a little snow on the ground back then.
And Danny McManus with that drive not only ties the game, it's a record-setting day. He has just moved ahead of Mike Kerrigan as the all-time passing leader in Hamilton Tiger Cat history. So dead even with 2:05 to go. Away goes Warren once again. Antonio Warren tripped up by Woodson as he crossed the 40. 25 yards on the return.
All season long now, the Calgary Stampeders in this position have played the game not to lose, rather than played the game to win, and that's been the difference in their season. What will Ben Sankey do with the football? He's moved it up and down the field, but now's the time where you learn how to win games and finish games, and you play to win, not playing not to lose.
Last 5 times these two teams have met, the difference over the 5 games has been only 15 points, and here they are tied once again. Pitch right side Anderson. Some heavy traffic and a huge hit. Rob Hitchcock stepped up with Woodson.
Number 17, Hitchcock.
We went to overtime 2 weeks ago. And this is the play that decided it.
Aaron Flutie right down the seam in overtime. Calgary had the first possession, if I recall, in that overtime, kicked a field goal, and that was Hamilton's first possession. They finished with a touchdown.
2nd and 10. Sankey over the middle, and this time one hops it to Bo Richter. So he overthrew him open the last time, and this time showing more inexperience. This time he short-armed the ball.
We talked about it earlier. You mentioned how Marcus Crandall and Ben Sankey, when you look at their efficiency rating, 1 and 2 in the Canadian Football League. Why aren't they winning more? Because with the game on the line, the nerves creep into it, they get tight, and they don't complete the pass that they need to complete. That's twice. 2nd down, Ben Sankey should have had the first.
39-32. 90 seconds to go. Manny blocked again. Gerald Vaughn again. The ball in the end zone, and O'Mahony wisely will kick it out for 2.
Another block.
Gerald Vaughn has done it again. Jeff Johnson had a shot at that ball, but Vaughn, the former Stampeder, 2 blocks in the same game.
But as it turns out, Duncan O'Mahony gives Calgary a chance. He really does. Now, they got a little lucky because the Hamilton Tiger Cats had 3 or 4 cracks at the touchdown on the block from Gerald. What's up, baby? What's up, baby? What's up, but they get a little lucky. It's the same matchup. Gerald Vaughn on the outside. This time it's Otis Floyd. They tried to switch things up. Now, look at this. Hamilton has a crack at it. The ball's still on the ground. Duncan O'Mahony right here gives the Calgary Stampeders one more shot if their defense can hold.
You know, we asked Wally Bono this morning about how close Hamilton got a couple of times 2 weeks ago, and he said, all we got to do is block, but they have not been able to do it here today.
I talked to Daryl Laudrella, the special teams coach for the Ticats. He had a big smile. He said, Gerald Vaughn, Clifford Ivory, and Joe Mumford will be after O'Mahony.
That's an amazing stat. 9 career blocks, and this is 9th year in the league.
There's Daryl Laudrella talking about that. He said, we're going after him. After watching the film from the Toronto game, he said, we're going to go get him, and they have.
And Hamilton, instead of accepting a kickoff, takes the ball at the 35. They'll try to kill the clock now. Davis, with Cody Ledbetter in, has 2 or 3. My spotter, Larry Mueller, thought McManus might have been jarred a bit a few series back by Ray Jacobs. He looked over at the bench, seemed to wince, and stayed in, and obviously threw a touchdown pass and a 2-point convert, but Danny going to give way to Ledbetter to try and kill the clock. But there's still time for Calgary to get the ball back.
Well, plenty of time. And that's why I said Duncan O'Mahony gave him a chance, because it's just a 2-point game. A field goal wins it for Calgary. If they get a stop here, they get the football back. They need field goal range to win the game. Now you got Cody Ledbetter. That throws another wrinkle into it for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
Now a quarterback for Hamilton.
And will make Ticat fans awfully uneasy about what McManus' status might be for future games. This is the play. He was a little tentative when he got up after that Jacobs hit.
It looked like he went down hard on his right arm as well.
Minute 12 left. Second down. Ledbetter on a roll, and down he goes. Back at the 30-yard line. Not fooled at all by the former Ticat Willie Fells.
Well, Cody Ledbetter rolled out. The play was designed to try and get him outside, hoping to fool the Calgary defense and allow Cody Ledbetter to run for the first down. But you're right, they weren't fooled. Calgary defense did their job now. There's Joe Fleming getting out of there, and Willie Fells in contained. Fleming wasn't allowing Ledbetter to come back into the middle. So now the defense has done their job. Now it's on the shoulders of the offense, and all they need is field goal range. Probably the 35, 40-yard line for McLaughlin with this slight breeze.
Osbaldiston watching the clock. He's going to take it right down and then call a timeout. 4, 3, 2, and there's the timeout call with a second left. 49 on the clock.
Hamilton.
Doesn't get much more intriguing than this, does it?
You could just feel the tension in McMahon Stadium. You really can. I mean, the air is thick right now, even though it's a beautiful big sky kind of day here in Calgary. There's a little tension down on that sideline, I guarantee you that.
Osbaldiston has a breeze in his back.
27, 27.
Got a great kick, and Warren stepped out.
It wasn't pretty, but it was very effective for Paul Osbaldiston. He nailed it low, and he got a good bounce. He's going to make Ben Sankey basically driving 3/4 of the field if he's going to get in position. But remember, all he needs is 35, 40-yard line. So where he is right now, that equates to about 4 first downs. He's only got 41 seconds to do it in.
Little knockdown 4-iron. Second half, those numbers don't reflect the fact that Calgary put 19 points on the board. They did most of it on the ground.
Right. Kelvin Anderson was a big part of that.
41 seconds left at the 31. Sankey with time. and nearly picked off. Bo Richter, the intended receiver. Jason Lamar with the catch. Or with the knockdown.
Yeah, Jason Lamar should have had the catch, that's for sure. You know what, Ben Sankey looks at his target the whole way. He's not trying to look off. The linebacker's right there, and Lamar breaks on the football. That's the next level. We're going to talk about Crandall and Sankey taking the next level. In key situations, do they look off the defender before they throw the football? That time Sankey did it, almost cost him.
2nd and 10. Sankey's last 3 deliveries have been tentative. Dumps it off to Tunkara, and he's nailed immediately. At the 35, short gain, Sean Woodson.
Gain of about 4. 3rd down.
And it's 3rd down, and the Stampeders have no options but to go.
Both teams today make me look at my standings list again. 3 or 4 times throughout the game. We didn't give Calgary the win, but we were talking about what it would mean, and now Hamilton is looking pretty good.
3rd down, the ball game comes down to this, and Anderson overthrown, incomplete. And the Hamilton Tiger Cats will get the ball back on downs. And after an impressive 3rd quarter comeback by the Stamps, they're going to fall short again.
Well, I'm certainly not going to give Ben Sankey any alibis. He's had chances late in this game to move the sticks and win it for his team, and he's overthrown Mark Bo Richter and Kelvin Anderson, and he's underthrown Bo Richter in 3 different opportunities. I said I wasn't going to give an alibi, but remember, he's playing on a very tight hamstring, and maybe that's part of the problem. He can't step strongly into that throw.
Well, the Ticats poised to win their 3rd straight, to move 3 over 500, to move within 2 of Montreal, and they will play later in October.
Ledbetter down on 1
Well, it really creates an interesting scenario in the West Division now. Calgary losing. They stay in 3rd with 5 wins. Now the Toronto Argonauts have 5 wins. They're looking at the West Division. Remember, Saskatchewan won today. They now have 4 wins. 5 teams right in the thick of things, and boy, it makes it very, very interesting in that West Division.
Only concern now for Hamilton, the status of Danny McManus.
And the Tiger Cats.
As the Ticats run it out and survive.
I think at the end of the day, they'll look at this game film in the second half and say, we stole one.
They led by 10 at halftime. Calgary roared back an 8-point lead. But the cool Danny McManus and company came back, and a block punt turns out to be and safety turns out to be the margin of victory.
Well, they started with the block punt, Gerald Vaughn, and then finished with it. Whether they stole it or not, at the end of the year, they won't ask how, just how many, and that's another win for the Hamilton Tiger Cats.
It's thrown down to Steve Armitage.
Thank you, Chris. I'm with Danny McManus. Danny, you pulled yourself late in that 4th quarter. What's the problem?
A little bit of a calf pull. I don't know if it was a cramp or something like that, and Coach wanted to run the ball the last 2 plays. I didn't think I'd be able to get back to get to Troy, so Cody came in and finished off the game for us. It's an outstanding ball game for us to win. It moves us even closer to where we want to be. But the biggest thing is coming to a place that we haven't won in a number of years and getting to win. That's exciting.
You haven't won here since 1988. What was the difference today?
I just think we never gave up. Give Calgary credit. They came back in the second half and played some great football. And offensively, we had a shot with the wind, and we made the most of it. But going against the wind, their defense shut us down. And we just had a chance right there at the end to get some points, and things worked out.
Danny, is it the kind of injury that could keep you out of the lineup?
No, I don't think so. I mean, majority of it is just a matter of getting it healthy and stuff like that. But I don't think it's anything that's going to keep me out. I had it for, I pulled about 10 minutes with 10 minutes left in the 4th, so I was able to keep going.
This team's on a roll.
So far, we're going good. We don't want to get too excited right now. We want to ride that wave as long as we can, and we got a big one next week.
Congratulations, Danny. Outstanding football.
Thank you, sir.
Danny McManus and the Hamilton Ticats come up with a big 35-33 win over the Calgary Stampeders here at McMahon Stadium this afternoon. A very, very entertaining football game from start to finish. But it's the Ticats who prevail and move ever closer to the Montreal Alouettes in the East with a 35-33 win over the Stampeders. Their first win here since '88. Hockey night in Canada Canada next Saturday. The first half of the double for some viewers in the East, St. Louis at Toronto. Other viewers in the East will see the Big E, Eric Lindros, and the Rangers take on the Senators in Ottawa. The second half of the double, the Stanley Cup champion Colorado Avalanche will take on the Canucks at GM Place in Vancouver. The CFL on CBC this Saturday. Montreal at Toronto, 3 o'clock Eastern Time, coming off the Argos win over BC. This is suddenly a big game for Pinball and Company. Here at McMahon this afternoon, a thriller. The Ticats win it by 2, 35-33.